Welcome to the stream. Before I forget to mention as we get here into Higurashi, something I've been meaning to say, maybe for like the last week, but I forgot that I know we're reaching towards the end of the year, and I definitely want to finish Higurashi before the end of the year, and with some weeks to spare would be nice, all things considered, for plans that I have. So if for some reason we don't finish this chapter 8 here before we start approaching like first week of December, expect there to be like, I don't want to say an emergency, but basically an emergency stream of like probably Higurashi during the day, like sometime during the first week of December is my idea. So that even if it's like a long stream, like unheard of 8 hours, 9 hours if need be type Higurashi stream random on one day. Because I do, like I said, really want to finish, and especially, like I said, definitely want to finish before like mid-December, if I'm being 100% honest. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but in case it does, heads up, Higurashi Nation. Mind your ears here. It's Saturday Higurashi night. Saturday night Higurashi is what I meant to say. Why was it hidden there? We are continuing to assemble fragments and such. Ever since, what was it? Was it Wednesday? I did the bonus hour, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Ever since that stream, and we're like finally out of like the streams that are like freebies. I know we can basically save scum and all that. So I shouldn't be panicking too much, but I want to do this correctly and win. It's just my competitive nature coming out, especially in a visual novel video game. I'm so competitive. I really don't want to click a wrong fragment thing. You know what I mean? I really don't want to click a wrong fragment. And so like this past like Thursday and Friday and stuff, I was like fretting. I was fretting clicking a wrong fragment and that being broadcasted to the world. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of pressure. Not real pressure, but fake pressure that I'm creating inside my head. That everyone's gonna like point and laugh at me the moment I click a wrong fragment. And people are gonna call me like stupid and stuff. You know what I mean? I can't have that. Alright, I know I've got my book here, my notebook. I know I wrote down 4 fragments based on what we've seen previously that I was pretty confident that we'd be able to click. Let me see what those were again. The Hojo siblings. It was one of these. I remember. Yes. A murder with... Let me reconfirm. Conflict between the Hojo family and Sonozaki. We saw that. As far as we know, that's what it's referencing. It was during the meeting. And then the self-introduction of Satoko, which we did in the fragment called Satoko Hojo. Right? I would assume that's that. A murder with a dismembered body. That was this. Repetitive apologies. We saw that, I think, twice. So I'm pretty confident on that. So confident that I might click this one first. Mion Sonozaki. Where's Mion? Disappointment! Where's Mion? Mion. Strawberry milk candy. Actually, we might click this one because strawberry milk candy we definitely got. That is like 1,000,000% confident. And then Irie's background. Where's Irie's background, huh? Irie? 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 There we go. And that was his reminisce is required. That one I wasn't 100% confident in. Because it's like, what his reminiscence? I think there was one where he was like... He talked about his motive for becoming a doctor, I think in this one. So maybe it's talking about that? Yeah. We have, what, 8 times 48, 49, 50. Yeah, we determined 50, and I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7. We've read 7 based on my notes. We have 43 more to go through. I feel like I'm playing like a visual novel form of like Minesweeper. You know that Minesweeper game? Where like, you're like, if you're bad at Minesweeper, Minesweeper's not actually that difficult. Especially once you like know what you're doing. But like when you were younger and trying to play it on your like your old like Windows 98 PC or something, and then like you're afraid to click a button and you're like, I don't know if this is a mine or not. And you're hovering your mouse over the little spot. You're like, I hope I don't click the wrong thing. Alright, we're going Mion Sonozaki first. Like, almost a give me that the strawberry milk candy that we got when they went shopping. Shopping. Where'd they go shopping? Oh, in Rika Frude. So this one, yeah. Alright, Mion Sonozaki, what you got? What you got for me? No bad text. No shattered fragment looking thing, so I think we're good. We're in the clear. Mion-san! Oh, it's housekeeper. Mion-san! Your friend is here! I heard the housekeeper's voice. Our house and the front yard are huge, so unlike normal houses, ringing a doorbell or yelling my name repeatedly asking to play won't work. Okay, thank you. Who? Sorry, I'm adjusting audio. Who is it? Rika Frude-chama. Oh, finally. Can you tell Granny that Rika-chama is here? I think she's on the porch. I'll get the watermelon. Granny received many beautiful watermelons from somebody, so she wanted to share. I just called the Frude house a short time ago, and Rika-chan is here to pick one up. Did she come on her bicycle? Can't remember if it was big enough basket. I pulled the watermelon from the well while thinking about that. Cold water in the well has refrigerated the watermelon, and the condensation makes it look delicious. I pulled the watermelon from the well, yeah. Yeah, that just reminds me, maybe chilling a watermelon inside of a well is like a common thing, but the only other time I've seen it in any other media is The House. That movie, that Japanese sort of horror, sort of just fantasy bizarreness movie that I'm actually a really big fan of. I won't spoil it or anything, but there's a scene that involves a watermelon and a well. So I'd assume that's probably like a thing you would do back when, you know, to keep watermelon chill. I'm oblivious, so I don't know. If you're not sticking your watermelon in a refrigerator, I don't want it. The 3 members of the Frude family will enjoy it for at least 2 nights. Me? Am I supposed to take it home? I thought... What? Didn't your dad tell you? The priest answered the phone and I thought I told him to come pick it up. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, or maybe he misunderstood me completely. But she's here to eat the watermelon, not to take it home. Besides, small basket on Rika-chan's bicycle won't hold the watermelon, and it's too dangerous for her to ride while holding it in her hands.
Mion!
Mion! Why don't you help Rika-chama take the watermelon? There's no way she can ride her bicycle while carrying it. Me. I can hold the watermelon. No, no, that's too dangerous.
いいかちゃまに何かあったら、お社様に申し訳立たんね。
If something happened to you, I wouldn't know what to say to Oyashiro-sama.
うちのミオンが運ぶね。
Mion will
任
help.
せたったら。
Mion will help you.
はいはい、任せられたったら。
Okay, okay, I will.
じゃあついでに神主さんにご挨拶でもしてこようかね。
I'll go say hello to the priest too. No matter whether she rides or pushes her bicycle, Rika-chan's hands will be occupied. So I'm going to carry the watermelon. The sky is turning auburn in the sunset. The cool breeze feels good on my sandaled feet. The plastic bag I'm carrying contains the watermelon, and also some small bags of rock candy. Plastic bag I'm carrying contains watermelon and also some small bags of rock candy. Wasn't rock candy a thing as well? If her mother finds them, she'll take them away, so we decided to eat them before we got to her home. We opened the bags and enjoyed the rock candy. Rika-chan isn't an exception. Whenever kids from our neighborhood come to our house for errands, Granny gives them some treats. Actually, it's a pretty common rule here in Hinamazawa. It's funny, but sometimes when parents aren't watching, siblings will fight over who gets to take the circular notice to the next house over. So these bags of rock candy are like tips for them. Of course, she doesn't normally give out this much. Usually it's just a little piece of it. Granny is being extra nice to Rika-chama. I feel bad getting all this candy.
別に気にすることないんじゃない？
Don't worry.
おだちんは好意みたいなもんなんだもん。
Granny loves you.
変に断るよりは子供らしくありがとうって言って笑顔を見せる方がよっぽどいいと思うけどね。
You should just thank her and put a big smile on your face. That's all. Do you get lots of treats?
昔はね。
I used to.
でもさすがにこの年になったらもらわなくなったな。
But at this age, they don't give me any.
今もらうとなんだか子供扱いされてるみたいで、はいカチンとくるかな。なんてね。
If they did though, I would probably feel I was being treated like a little kid. Me. I'm being treated like a child then.
いいじゃんいいじゃん。
That's okay.
もらえるうちにもらっとけばいい。
Enjoy it while you can.
私くらいになれば欲しくてももらえなくなるんだからさ。
When you become as old as me, you won't get any, you won't get any even if you wanted some. As we talked about ordinary things, I noticed Rika-chan seemed a little sad.
どうしたの？
What's wrong? Whenever I run errands, I get candy as a treat. But Satoko doesn't get any even if she comes with me. I can think of so many reasons why. Not only Satoko, but everyone in the Hojo family is being treated poorly in Hinamazawa. And the Sonozaki family are the ones who instigated that. The two dam supporters have died in an accident already. But the malice against the Hojo family is still going. It's directed against Satoko and Satoshi, their children, and the aunt and uncle who are taking care of them. The big fight between the Hojo family and the Sonozaki family at the explanatory meeting started all of this. That was a Hojo couple, and it shouldn't have anything to do with the children and their aunt and uncle. But the idea that the Hojo family are traitors evolved on its own. Therefore, anyone bearing the Hojo name is to be treated poorly. The aunt and uncle weren't dam supporters, so over time the attacks towards them should have stopped. But they're rather odd, and they keep having trouble with their neighbors. They don't follow the community rules, they don't do their community duties, and they spray pesticide while their neighbor's laundry is still hanging outside. Fucking neighbors, fucking people, fucking Hojos. They often get into fights with the other villagers. They'd be hated even without the dam. Therefore, the Hojo family continues to be treated poorly. But none of that should have anything to do with Satoko and Satoshi. Satoko and Satoshi are often depressed at school. I try to leave the conflict between the two families aside, but I wonder how they really feel about that. From their point of view, I'm just another member of the family that keeps harassing them.
せめて学校にはそんな雰囲気を持ち込ませたくない。
I don't want any of that at school.
だから私はそういう風に振る舞ってるつもりだよ。
That's why I try to be their friend while we're there.
それを学校の中だけでなく
外にも広げるにはどうしたらいいのですか？
How can we get that to extend outside too, instead of staying in the school? That'd be pretty difficult. The Hojo family made enemies of the three families. They were branded as traitors, and that's still considered the truth. It wouldn't mean anything if one person suggested an end to the hostilities just because the events around the dam are history now. On the contrary, that would just put them in the same position. Unfortunately for Satoko and Satoshi, the only thing they can do is to wait patiently until the issue withers away. All I can do for them is provide an oasis until that day comes.
では、聡子たちはいつまで耐え忍べばいいのですか？
So how long do they have to wait?
わかんない。
I don't know.
ダム戦争は数年に及んだ。
The dam conflict lasted for several years.
その時に押された烙印を払拭するんだから、それと同じ年数はかかるかもしれないね。
They were branded back then, so it might take years to clear up too.
それはつまり、
Do you mean?
聡子たちが大人になるまで誰にも許してもらえないということですか？
They won't be forgiven until they become adults?
聡子が子供のうちはずっと村中から冷たい目で見られていろということですか？
Will Satoko have to live out her childhood going through that?
それは
That's
あまりにも辛いね。
pretty miserable, isn't it?
みー、
Me.
僕たちは聡子やサトシの仲間なのですよね。
We are their friends, aren't we?
そうだよ。
Sure.
私にとってだって
They're my
二人は
friends.
友達だよ。
They're my friends.
仲間だよ。
We're all buddies.
なら僕たちの仲間を救うために僕たちに何かできることはないのでしょうか？
Then isn't there something we can do to help our friends?
私たちに何ができるんだろうね。
What exactly can we do? Even if the Sonozaki family declares that the dam conflict is over, so the Hosho family are no longer outcasts, that wouldn't solve the problem. It's not that simple. In the first place, Granny hates the Hosho family and won't suffer their name to be mentioned in her presence. It's not a matter of someone forgiving another. It's a matter of very complicated ties between the people in this village. It's absolutely terrifying to have them as your enemies. Everyone knows that very well, and that's why they maintain good relationships with their neighbors. However, if you make enemies out of them, you'll have to face the consequences. That's the unwritten law of the Japanese community. And the Sonozaki family is a part of this unwritten law. Now that the Hojo family are outcasts, not even the Sonozaki family can overturn the situation.
ひなみ沢のことはひなみ沢の人間にはどうしようもないということなのでしょうか？
So, even if it's an issue of Hinamizawa, we can't do anything about it as Hinamizawa residents?
悲しいけどそういうこともあるかもしれない。
Unfortunately, that's probably so, yeah.
もし聡子を救う人が現れてくれるとしたら、
If there's someone who can help Satoko,
それは村のしがらみにとらわれないそういう人なんだろうね。
that person must be someone who has nothing to do with the village.
でもそんな人村にはいない。
But there's no one like that here.
村の外から誰かが助けに来なければ救われないということですか？
Are you saying someone from the outside has to come help her? Like Rika-chan says, would a knight in shining armor from the outside world ever come here? Would that person bring in a new wind into this village that has been filled with stale air for hundreds of years? No way. That's just wishful thinking. Time will solve the problem someday. Till then, I have to be their ally. I can't think of anything else I can do for them. As Rika-chan and I crunched on our rock candy, we can only pray that people will forgive Satoko and her family sooner rather than later. Rika-chan gently broke the heavy silence.
きっと
I know.
きっと村の外からしがらみにとらわれない人がやってきます。
I know someone who has absolutely nothing to do with the village will come here from the outside.
そうだね。
That's right.
ダム戦争も終わったんだから、また分譲地に外から人が引っ越してきてくれるといいね。
The dam conflict is over, so it'd be great if more people moved into those lots that are for sale.
近い年の転校生とか来れば楽しいだろうに。
Wouldn't it be fun for a family with a kid our age moved in?
来ます。
He will come.
きっと。
I know.
そして彼と力を合わせて私たちは村の悪兵を打ち破るのです。
And we'll break this evil practice alongside them. Or
そ
him.
れが私たちの未来を閉ざす3つの錠前に対する最初の鍵。
That will be the first key to one of the 3 locks that have us trapped in the past.
え？
Huh?
何それ？
What's this?
なんかの小説？
Are you talking about a novel or something? Rika-chan says some odd things sometimes. When she talks that way, she seems so mature. I even start to doubt she's really younger than I am. The unreasonable antagonism towards the Hojo family. Will there really be someone from the outside who will shatter our old traditions? Okay, so that... I'm gonna write... Rika? Rika and... Mion... Talk about Hojo misfortune. Rika predicts an outsider. And then Rock Candy. So Rika and Mion talk about Hojo misfortune. Rika predicts an outsider. And then Rock Candy. Easy. There's one that says something about Rock Candy. Let's just find it, right? So we can write it down in our list of... Wait, Rock Candy is a treat. Satoko Hojo's detailed test result. Oh, we can't do it. Suffering of a big brother. No, no, no. Rock Candy was not the only thing. It's a shame for us. What was the other one? Satoko Hojo's detailed test result? This also says Satoko Hojo's detailed test result. And a decision. Death of the aunt hasn't happened yet. Repetitive apologies. Repetitive apologies. We want to go that one? Or do we want to go Hojo's siblings? Which do I feel more confident in? I think I feel more confident with this. Just barely, though. Because the other one seems so vague. Even though we did get twice people going, I'm sorry, No, I think once it was Hanyu going like, I'm sorry, sorry. And then it was someone else hearing, I'm sorry. Probably from Hanyu, right? Should I save for safety? Such a scaredy cat. Let's go. Hojo siblings it is. Okay. The Hojo family is well known for going against the whole village during the dam conflict. Get ready for me to get excited about everyone we click correct, no matter how easy it is, alright? I take my wins here. The Hojo family is well known for going against the whole village during the dam conflict. Both the husband and the wife were rather aggressive, and they fought a fierce battle, especially against the Sonozaki family. Although the whole village treated them coldly, the husband and wife didn't really care and kept on fighting. In a way, they were extremely strong-willed people. I'm sure their children had to go through a lot because of them, though. Satsuko-chan and Satoshi-kun were treated coldly by the villagers as well. In addition to that, Satsuko-chan and her stepfather didn't get along, so their stress levels must have reached their limit. Because I'm the director of the local clinic, a rather respected member of society, people usually tell me a lot of things. So I was aware of the treatment they were receiving even before I met them. I met Satoshi-kun first. Satoshi-kun came to the clinic because he felt ill from too much stress. He must have thought he would had a cold. When I examined him, he even told me that. But hearing his reported sighs and by seeing the exhausted look in his eyes, by hearing his repeated sighs, I knew right away it wasn't just a simple cold. Medication would heal his symptoms, but that would only be a temporary measure. The only way to truly cure him would be to change his living environment. But that was easier said than done. He was surrounded by tangled and complicated relationships with the village and his family, so just resting for a few days and taking some medication wouldn't do. Time was the only thing that could ease off the cold treatment from the villagers, but we were talking a very, very long time. That's why I felt I had to be their first ally in this village, so I could rescue them. I couldn't do anything about his stressful environment, but I could try to diminish the anxiety. So I thought the best way was to teach him how to vent his stress. And playing sports is the best way to do that. So I asked him to join the junior baseball team that I coach. As a researcher, I devote most of my time to Hinamazawa syndrome, but I too need to do something else to relax. I used to play baseball, so I decided to coach the local kids team. After a while, the children of Hinamazawa started their own baseball team, and somehow, I became their coach. Doctors can't provide health just by giving medication. You need a sound mind and a sound body. I believe health can be maintained through sports as well. But our team needed more people, so I thought of asking Satoshi-kun to join. Being a bookworm, Satoshi-kun wasn't interested in playing sports. He wasn't sure how joining the baseball team would help his situation. I didn't need to go on and on about athletic medicine to explain why sports help people become healthy. I just wanted him to experience it himself, to realize how great it feels to play sports. I think he realized it gradually. He was reluctant until the very end, but he attended all the team activities and games. As I saw Satoshi-kun slowly regain his liveliness, I realized my plan worked. However, if Satoshi-kun was under that much stress, then Satsuko-chan, who lived in the same family climate, must have felt the same way. Unfortunately, I didn't think of her back then. So when Satsuko-chan was carried into my clinic as a patient, I regretted doing nothing about her even while knowing the situation. As Satoshi-kun recovered under my guidance, Satsuko-chan was left alone in her stressful environment. Also around that time, there was an incident bad enough to make Satsuko-chan collapse. That was, of course, her parents' deaths. The day of the Wad Nagashi festival was a very uncomfortable time for the Hojo family, because although it was a village festival, it was also a day to celebrate victory over the dam construction project. It's understandable that they would plan a family trip around that time so they could leave the village. Satsuko-chan's parents fell off the cliff at the park they were visiting. It happened on such an unlucky day. Because it happened on the day of Wat Nagashi, people said it was the curse of Oishiro-sama. And people labeled the Hojo family as one that was cursed by Oishiro-sama. The parents were given the cold shoulder by everyone in the village. So with their parents gone, Satoshi and Satoko should have been freed from that, but unfortunately, the accident happened on the day of Wad Nagashi. That's why the members of the Hojo family continue to be shunned. Satoko-chan was the only one who was at the site of the accident. Satoshi-kun didn't go on the trip because he had an event with the baseball team. Therefore, the police mainly interrogated her. The detective, Oishi, suspected an act of organized crime by the village, so with Satoko-chan as the only witness on site, he drilled her with questions. She was as stressed as Satoshi-kun, perhaps even more, so of course she couldn't take it. During the interrogation, she began to wheeze and gasp for air. The anguished look I saw on Satoko-chan's face when she was carried into the clinic was very, very tragic. It broke my heart just to imagine what she had to go through. Coach, is Satoko okay? Yes, don't worry. She's a bit confused, but only temporarily. That's all. May I see her? She finally fell asleep. So I'd rather not wake her up just yet. Let's just let her rest for a while.
いいかもしれません。
Maybe it's a good idea to have her stay here for a few days too.
大丈夫。
Don't worry.
私に任せてください。
I'll take good care of her.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. I know Satoshi-kun is a great big brother who truly cares about his sister. He empathizes deeply with her. In other words, Satoshi-kun's worries and stress were reflecting Satoko-chan herself. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but while Satoshi-kun was, of course, sad about his parents' deaths, he may, at the same time, have been a little relieved that they were gone. His sister wouldn't have to be driven into a corner anymore. Unlike Satoshi-kun, Satoko-chan didn't have the social skills to get along with her stepfather. So, putting her mother aside, I was certain that losing her father, the greatest cause of stress in her life, would bring great change to her home environment. But I couldn't believe what happened next. The two were sent to live in an even worse environment with their aunt and uncle. Although at that time, I was rather optimistic, thinking this new environment would be better for the siblings. Okay. I'm gonna say Irie helps Satoshi invites to baseball Satoko collapses. Satoko collapses, Irie feels guilty, I'll say. Alright, that's 2 knocked out tonight so far. Okay. There was one that said that a baseball bat was needed. But I don't know if that him just joining or if it's going to be more explicit, you know what I mean? Death of the aunt hasn't happened yet. This hasn't happened. The discontinuation of Satoko Hojo's dissection plan. I don't remember. That's probably later. Satoshi Hojo's sister must refuse his visit at the clinic. Satoshi Hojo's sense of responsibility as a big brother is required. Slight fever. Reminisce. Footsteps. Rock candy. Test results. Rika and Satoko's shopping trip, yes. Shinto priest contacting the Irie institution. No. A watermelon from the Sonozaki family. The Ryugu family's move. The Ryugu family's move. So Rina has to move in for this to happen. This also needs the move of Ryugu. But probably win a red capsule. What's the red capsule again? Red capsule. So to get this, you need the third year's curse. Okay. I'm gonna go a murder with a dismembered body. Repetitive apologies. With about 80% confidence. Ha ha! Early summer. 1979-80. Jesus. Shit, damn it, shit. Manager? Manager, come on, say something. Manager! You idiot. He's dead already. Clang. A loud noise snapped everyone out of it. Someone dropped the shovel he was holding. The shovel was smeared with reddish-black blood. No, not just the shovel. All 6 construction workers' clothes were blood-soaked, too. One of them cried out to the silent dead body of the manager, which was drenched in blood. Manager. Manager. Oh. Shut up. He's already dead. It was self-defense. Right? Self-defense. The fight had started after the manager yelled at them for drinking beer inside the office. There were no drinking and no smoking signs everywhere. The manager harshly scolded anyone who broke that rule, so it was the 6 workers' fault for disobeying. But they drank because they were stressed out by the anti-dam protesters. That's why they said things to provoke the manager. They told him to step out, and the others went along. I just have the mouse on the screen, my bad. Sorry, guys. The construction workers toiled hard in long hours. That's why they instigated the fight with the manager, to release their stress. They had expected to just curse at each other, or to end up in a wrestling match. But things escalated. Yeah, just putting it lightly. Or to put it more accurately, the manager exploded all of a sudden. Damn. The manager had to deal with the residents' protests as well. So he was under just as much pressure, or maybe even more. But how he changed was not normal. The manager was calm at first, but he gradually became more aggressive, and it was like he transformed into someone completely different. No, it was like he was possessed by something evil. The men who instigated the fight sobered up when they saw his behavior. Then, the manager picked up a shovel that was nearby and tried to smash his opponent's head in with it. He managed to avoid the hit, but if he didn't, his head would have surely been split open. The manager kept pounding on him with the shovel, even as he frantically tried to avoid the hits. By this time, the workers had realized this was beyond a simple fight, so they tried to hold the manager down. But the manager turned on them with the shovel too. One of the men tried to protect himself by crossing his arms above his head, but there was no way that they could have blocked a shovel swung with such force. Blood spurted out, and the man groaned in pain. By this time, the 6 men had realized the manager was not his usual self. This manager would try to bash in their brains without hesitation. Since their opponent was using a shovel as his weapon, they had to find some kind of weapon too. One of them grabbed a huge hammer. Bonk him with a hammer. Then the others realized they needed to find something as well. To restrain the manager in that condition, it was better to arm themselves. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It didn't take that long for the madness to infect the 6 workers. It was only a matter of time before they went from restraining him to lynching him. By the time they realized what had happened, the manager was already a lump of meat. I was going to make a joke about Umineko, but I don't want to spoil potential Umineko stuff. His face was swollen. Shards of skin had been torn off and his muscles and skull were visible too. Obviously, he was quite dead. Fuck. He almost killed us, remember? If he hadn't attacked us, we wouldn't have fought him. Right? The leader of the 6, the one who instigated the fight, tried to bring the rest to his side, but nobody replied. And so, the leader became frustrated. He was the one who started the fight. The rest simply joined in. He was the main perpetrator. Maybe that was why he was feeling so exasperated. He sensed that he was the one at fault. Don't just stand there like a limp noodle. It's too late. We killed him and there's nothing we can do about it. We're all murderers now. Back up or buck up. You ain't thinking about turning yourself in and doing time, are you? Fuck you! I can't go to a slammer at my age. We're hiding it. We're hiding this corpse and pretending nothing happened. Some of them knew he was on probation for an assault incident once before. So if he got into trouble with the law again, the punishment would be more severe than they could imagine. That was why he was trying desperately to find a way out. If he was alone with the manager's body, then he wouldn't have behaved this way. All he would have to do was hide the manager's body and pretend nothing happened. But there were 6 of them, including him. There were partners in crime, and witnesses too. If even one of them turned himself in out of guilt, he'd be in big trouble. But even if we hide the body, they'll find out sooner or later. Instead, we should plead justifiable self-defense and they might end up pardoning us. Don't be so stupid. Look what we've done. Look at his face. Who would think this is the result of self-defense? His parents wouldn't even be able to identify him in this condition, you idiot. But even if we hide it, everyone's going to find out tomorrow morning when the manager doesn't show. It's hopeless. What's hopeless is your damn brain, you shithead! He slapped the other man in the face. The leader had such an evil look in his eyes. Listen well, dipshits. We're all murderers, okay? Keep griping now, and we'll all get slammed with 5 or 6 years. Just one of you here try and blab. We'll all be locked up. Don't underestimate the pen. If you're prepared to be caught anyway, then run like your life depends on it. You can resign yourself to it later when it's time to pay the piper. His visage turned more and more demonic. Sorry, it's like a leaflet stuck in my teeth from like dinner or something. Sorry, I was distracted. It was the same expression the manager had just a few minutes before. Was he possessed by the same thing that possessed the manager? 5 men started to think that way. Now that they considered it, all the villagers in the anti-dam protests had the same expression on their faces too. The real name of the Hinamizawa was Onigifuchi Village. People said that wicked demons lived there, and sometimes they possessed people. The men couldn't help but to recall that exaggerated story, often told by the demonstrators. The manager swung his shovel after his expression changed to that demonic one. There was no guarantee this man wouldn't do the same. In fact, he was still squeezing the hammer in his hand, glaring at everyone and threatening them. If someone suggested surrendering, he'd probably smash their head in with it. I know. To make sure nobody betrays the rest. I have an idea. It'll make it easier to hide the body, too. What is it? We're gonna... cut up the body into 6 pieces. What? They all wanted to object to the idea. Killing him was a serious crime itself. Dismembering the body would be too much. But if anyone objected, he'd be killed on the spot. So no one said anything. We'll all cut him up together. Remember what the manager used to say? Teamwork! We're all in this together. When we know deep inside, they find guys to sing it. We're all in this together. I don't know the rest of the words to it. We'll each take a body part and hide it responsibly. What do you think, huh? This way, we're all equally guilty, right? I won't let anyone give themselves up. Oh. The 5 men were all taken in by his ghastly face, and they could even feel the fear of the Onigifuchi demons creep up their backs. Alright, I'm writing construction manager killed. Construction manager killed. 6 pieces. Decided by murderers. Easy. Okay. I think that makes 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. Okay. 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 Good shit. Good shit. Wasn't there one that said construction manager killed or something? The good thing is, just like any kind of like test you're taking that has multiple like choices you gotta order or whatever, if you lock in some, then there's less pieces that you have to look at, right? Here, the old guy. The death of the dam construction site manager is required. That one seems... I'm more confident in that than Irie's background over here. The death, yeah, I mean, this is... The old guy. The old guy. Hey, old guy. And these, I don't think. And a raw sea urchin and vitamin A are required. What the hell do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? The Revenge of me on Takano. Kitchen ever changing schools. Okay. Yeah, let's just go with the old guy. So confident, don't have to save it. I don't know what to say. I want to say something, but I can't think of the right words. I can only sigh.
Ah, Oi-san.
Oh, Oshi-san.
探したんすよ。
I've been looking for you.
課長から手配写真の
The section manager asked me about the wanted poster.
静かにせい。
Be quiet.
ここは騒ぐ部屋ではないぞ。
This is a place of rest. As Kumagai barged into the room, the old coroner quickly snapped back at him.
すみません。
Sorry.
ですね。課長が容疑者の手配写真について。
The section manager asked me about the wanted poster for the suspect.
ああ、それ小宮山君に相談してくれませんかね。
Can you talk to Komiyama-kun about that?
ちょいと私、じい様と話がありまして。
I need to speak to the coroner here.
すぐに上がりますと上に行っといてください。
Could you tell him I'll be right over?
あ、わかりました。
Okay. Kumagai ran out of the autopsy room with the same haste he entered in.
賑やかな男だの。
Lively, isn't he?
おやっさんだったらやかましいって言ってげんこつの一つも食らわしてるところです。
The old man would have slapped him for making such a fuss.
お前さんも少し上に戻った方がいいぞい。
You probably should go back too.
ここの空気は慣れんやつには合わん。
The air in here isn't for people who aren't used to it.
そうですね。
You're right.
あんまりサボってると私もげんこつを食らっちまいそうです。
If I slack off too long, I might get slapped as well.
獅子骨界隈じゃチンピラも避けて通るお前さんをツモの切り方が悪いとげんこつを食らわせてきたのは後にも先にもこいつだけだったの。
Here in Shishibone, all the hoodlums cross the street when you pass through. Yet he's the only one, past or future, who's ever punched you for splitting your sumo route.
容赦のない人だったな。
He really was a merciless man.
本当の親父よりげんこつもらった気がしますよ。
I think he punched me more than my real father.
本当も嘘もないわい。
Doesn't matter if he was your real one or not.
お前さんが本当の親父だと信じてたならこいつも本当の親父だ。
If you looked up to him in the same way, then he really was a father to you. My real father passed away in Nagoya. He was unlucky. If he wasn't given the order to move to a plant in Nagoya, he would have died. He wouldn't have died in an air raid. If he could have rode it out another half a year or so, then the war would have been over. I was sad, of course, but I was grown up enough by then that I didn't cry into the ground like my mother did. But people feel sadness in different ways. For some people, it comes all at once as an overwhelming wave, but others feel sadness gradually over a long period of time. I think I was the latter. When he was alive, I only thought of him as annoying. In my mind, I even cursed him with questions about why he avoided the draft. And I thought my feelings towards him would always be the same. Then the war ended. As I saw families and friends being reunited with joy as they came home from the front, it finally happened. I grieved for my father's death. Japan was filled with people who were sad and full of despair. I knew I wasn't the only one whose life ended up that way. But I remember I was very, very heartbroken. After the war, the nation completely changed. As a policeman, the environment I worked in went through sudden changes too. In order to forget my sorrow, the only thing I could do was to devote myself to my work.
当時私は闇米の取り締まりばかりやらされてましてね。
At the time, I was in charge of busting people for buying rice illegally.
鉄道修行駅で 旅客を抜き打ち検査するんですよ。
I conducted spot checks on travelers at major train stations.
そりゃもうゾロゾロ引っかかりましたっけ。
And boy, did I find a lot of them.
僕らのあたりはこの辺じゃかなりでかい闇市が立ちましたからね。大阪界隈からはるばる買いに来てる連中も大勢いましたよ。
There was a fairly big black market in Gagura, and a lot of people came from as far as Osaka to buy it. After the war, Japan faced a chronic shortage in food supply. To those ends, the nation instituted a food rationing program by signing the Food Control Act. But the rations the government provided weren't even close to being enough to feed families. Therefore, people had no choice other than buying food and supplies on the black market. The government hardly had enough food for rations, but there were somehow plenty on the black market. The dealers there sold it at outrageous prices, and some of them became quite wealthy. The Sonozaki family made their money through that black market, but that's another story. The government didn't bother arresting these dealers, for with their money, they were able to buy off the top members of the police department. Instead, they decided to go after the people buying the goods, and even confiscate the rice they bought by selling everything they owed. Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't there a prosecutor who starved himself to death?
皮肉な事件もありましたね。
Yeah, there was.
闇米は一切食わないと公言した判事が餓死したのが昭和22年でしたっけ。
Prosecutor who vowed not to eat illegal rice starved to death. Wasn't it in 1947?
ひどい話でした。
That was horrible.
法律に従ってたら生きていけないことを法の番人である裁判官が自ら示したんですからね。
He, a public prosecutor, proved it himself that people couldn't survive by adhering to the law. The prosecutor had grown tired of the government charging people with doing whatever they could do to survive, and he proclaimed that he was never going to buy black market rice again. In 1947, he starved to death when he was only in his mid-30s. The law prohibited people from buying black market rice, but that was the only way to survive. In that case, was the Food Control Act a bad law itself? The death of the prosecutor was seen as a desperate message to the government about the unjustness of that law.
米の袋を抱えた連中を次々と引っ立てて駅脇の臨時の検問所に並べましたね。
We rounded up people with bags of rice and lined them up at the temporary inspection point next to the station.
まるで戦時法廷みたいな感じなんですよ。
It was like a military tribunal.
次々ポンポンと没収して引っ取られていく感じです。
We inspected their bags and confiscated everything that they bought at the black market.
ご婦人方みんな泣かれるんですよ。
The women all cried.
その米を買うために彼らは家財を売り払ってるんです。
They sold everything they owned to buy the rice.
それを没収されたら何も残らないと。
They pleaded that if we confiscated the rice,
どうやって飢えた子供たちを食わせればいいのかと。
how would they feed their starving children?
道理だな。
Doesn't make sense, huh? Yet they forbade you from going after the sellers, so it was absolutely unfair from the view of the people.
皆さんも敏感でしてね。
Everyone was on edge.
駅で検問があるかもしれないと察知すると途中で列車から飛び降りたりして逃れるんですよ。
If they heard a police inspection was set up at the next station, they'd jump off the train and run.
そういう連中も逃さんと私たちは駅近くの飛び降りの名所に重点的に警官を配備しましてね。
We were aware of these people, so we set up several offices near jump-off spots in order to capture them.
何十キロもある米袋を抱えたご婦人をよく追っかけましたっけ。
I remember chasing after women carrying several kilos of rice on them. That was when I first met the old man.
いやー驚きましたよ。
Man, I was surprised.
私の親父にね
Remember my father?
あまりにもそっくりだったんですよ。
He looked exactly like him.
私はねてっきり親父は名古屋の空襲を奇跡的に生き延びて帰ってきてくれたんじゃないかって本気で思いましたよ。
I really thought that maybe my father had miraculously survived the air raid in Nagoya. I was chasing a man who was running away from the inspection point. There was no way for him to run with a heavy bag of rice on him. So either he'd get arrested with the illegal rice or escape by ditching the rice that he bought by selling all of his belongings. In other words, if a person is being chased by the police, that person can't provide his family any rice to eat. Of course, I felt guilty about that. I knew people had to buy rice to survive. So we had a tacit agreement to let those who ditch the rice and run get away. So we had a tacit agreement to let those who ditched the rice and ran get away. So I always thought the same thing as I chased them. Please throw it away. I didn't want to catch him, because I didn't want to hear him crying and pleading in distress. It was then that the old man showed up. He looked exactly like my dead father. I was dumbfounded. Then, all of a sudden, he punched me in the head. If a father disciplines you, as a child you lower your head in apology. I was so happy to see my father alive that I couldn't hold my joy in. The old man said, "Let him go." When I heard his voice, I realized he wasn't my father, so I thought I'd arrest him for assaulting a policeman. But a young man, like me, who'd barely grown any hairs yet, was no match for an older man used to fighting.
いや、たっぷり説教をもらいましたよ。
Yeah, sure taught me a lesson.
大通りの真ん中でぶちのめされた挙句に
Give me a good scolding in the middle of the street after I was all beat up.
普通に考えたらそんなのに耳なんか傾けないですよね。
No. Who would even listen to him, right?
でもあの時の私はどうかしてたんです。
But something struck me then.
どうしてもおやっさんが親父に見えちゃって
I kept seeing my father in him.
おとなしく言うことに耳を傾けることしかできなかったんです。
All I could do was listen.
まあそこで小づいただけじゃなく、男の器量もきっちりと見せられたのがこいつの大したところだったの。
Yeah, he was a ruffian, but he showed his guts like a real man. That's what made him such a great guy.
今時じゃすっかり珍しくなっちまった。古き良き時代の生き残りじゃった。
You don't see men like him nowadays. He was a true example of a man from the good old times. Despite my age, I still needed a father. I needed someone to look up to and to show me what makes a man a man. When I think about it, I really did have two fathers. The old man was a father, a brother, and my best friend. But now, here he lies, with his head, body, arms, and legs all dismembered, and his right arm hasn't been found. He taught me how to be a man, how to enjoy alcohol, how to play mahjong, and with that right arm, he gave me a good beating when I did something wrong. But that right arm is still missing.
星の目星は
Do you have any suspects?
ねえ、もちろんついています。
Yeah, of course.
おやっさんの右腕ももちろん取り返しますし、この金もきっちり返します。
I swear. Find the old man's right arm and pay them back for what they've done to him. They're running Hinamazawa from the shadows and inciting this collective crime they call the Dam Protests. The Sonozaki family. I declare war within myself. I already know who my enemy is. Damn. Alright, Oishi reflects. Sees murdered manager Rice and blame Sonozaki family. Okay. Let's see. This is the only one I'm basically feeling at the moment. Let me see these. Detailed test results? No. Discontinuation? No. Ant's death hasn't happened yet. Salary opportunist. You get another suspicion. No. Could be this. Well, the first sacrifice, second sacrifice. Tragedy at the damn construction site. Do we go here? These? A live specimen for research. The death of the construction site manager. Yeah, the hospitalization of Satoko Hojo. Is that when she went to Erie's clinic that we saw a little, like, what, 2 times ago? With the Hojo siblings? That might be that. But then would you really do the second one without the first one? And then can we do the first one then if we think we could do the second? Keep these on the back burner here. Excuse me. Queen Carrier. No. No. Satoshi Hojo's sister must refuse his visit at the clinic. No, that's not the jet. Bottle of wine. Detailed test results. Alright, with like 60% confidence, I'm going to pick Urie's background, but I'm going to save, because this truly is the first time where I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. This doesn't feel great. Reminiscence. His reminiscence. Ha ha! We're fine. I've wanted to become a doctor ever since I was little. Doctors make a lot of money. People look up to doctors. I think those are the kind of reasons I had. So when I played with my friends, I always acted like a doctor. I cleaned their wounds and applied ice packs when my friends sprained their ankles, using what I learned from household medical books. Everyone, including me, believed that I'd be a doctor one day. My family's poor, so they praised me for that goal. They told me that I needed to study a lot to become a doctor, so they borrowed some pseudo-medical books from the local library for me. The rental fees weren't cheap, so I would speed read one book in a day, and the next day, my parents would go back to go to the store to exchange it for a different book, saying they accidentally borrowed a book they already borrowed before. By doing so, my parents borrowed 2 books for the price of 1. Of course, now I know those books are rather useless, but they were highly motivational just the same. My neighbors called me Dr. Kyusuke-kun, and I was always picked for class health officer at school. Even my teachers helped me with the classes I needed to take to become a doctor. Of course, in reality, becoming a doctor isn't as easy as it might seem. I had to study diligently, and the path was most definitely rough. To become a doctor, one must attend college. Since my family was poor, I was told... Dude, I'm going to interrupt myself here. Shout out to doctors, just in general. Or really anyone in, like, healthcare. I remember as I was growing up, as a teenager, my oldest sister was going through, like, nursing school and stuff. And now she's like a NICU nurse. And I know how diligent she had to be, both in school and then once you get into that profession, how draining and how selfless a career it is. Anyway. But yeah, shout out to healthcare workers. Since my family was poor, I was told I wasn't allowed to go to an expensive private school. So I had to be admitted to a national public university. My oldest sister, a nurse. Me, I stream Higurashi. We're not the same. My grades weren't bad, but the admission rate to national public university is very marginal. Especially since I wanted to go to a medical school, my chances were even smaller. I studied like crazy. My only driving force was my childhood dream of becoming a doctor. The dream of becoming a doctor and to be looked up to by everyone kept me going. And I was admitted. I wasn't at the top of the list, but I made it in. I was finally at the starting point of making my childhood dream come true. My parents were thrilled. Neither my father nor mother went to college, so they were proud of their son getting into a public medical school. They invited our relatives over to celebrate. Although it was a public university, tuition wasn't cheap, but they still had an extravagant celebration anyway. My father didn't express his emotions much. He always kept a straight face. He rarely voiced his opinion or took initiative on anything. My mother took care of everything, and he showed up last and left without saying a word. He was a typical stern and silent Japanese father of the time. That's why I was surprised to see him shedding tears of joy, and I cried along with him. He went around to all my relatives while repeatedly slapping my back, saying how proud and lucky he was to have a son like me. He bragged about my achievements to all who would hear them. The celebration became my farewell party as I was about to leave for Tokyo. My father yelled "Bonsai" repeatedly at the station as the train pulled away. I was a little embarrassed, but when I could no longer see my father, I could clearly recall the tears pouring down. The days of hellish study and exams began after that. Some days I was tempted to just give up and submit myself to the lavish lifestyle of the city. But the letters from my family always encouraged me and gave me the strength to go on. My dream, then, was to open up my own clinic in my hometown so I could contribute to the region. I never even dreamed of getting involved with brains. One day, I noticed a difference in a letter from my family. The letter said the usual things about how I was at home and asked how I was doing. But the postscript was what caught my attention. Your father has become really violent lately. Sometimes he turns the house upside down and I don't know what to do. I just couldn't picture him acting viciously. I was extremely surprised. Did something happen? But in the postscript, my mother said that there was nothing she could think of. My mother and father had been together for a long time. They'd been together since well before I was born. So she noticed things that I couldn't. She couldn't even think of a reason why my father had become so violent. What happened? They got along so well. They were such a lovely couple. When I caused a problem for my mother when I was little, my father only bonked my head with his knuckle. Why was he acting this way towards my mother? Maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding between them. I was going home for the new year. Maybe I could have a good talk with him then. But the situation was a lot more serious than I thought. On one cold winter day, I found my apartment door unlocked. I thought someone had broke in, but I found my mother in my apartment with her luggage. That's right. My mother could no longer take my father's fury and came to stay with me. This was back when people still believed in the proverb, a woman has no place to settle down all her life. She couldn't go back to her own family because they lived in the same region as my father, so she came all the way to Tokyo. I heard about my father's violence from my mother's own lips. She cried, saying she had no idea why such a quiet man changed like that. She said she wasn't ever going back to him. I didn't know what to do. I asked her if she could talk to him one more time, but the bruises on her body told me it was no use. To remember what happened afterwards is too much, so I'll be brief. After my mother left, my father thought she was having an affair and went over to the neighbor's house with a wooden sword. He was arrested. He was released immediately, but he assumed someone in the neighborhood was hiding her, so he did the same thing repeatedly. He eventually reached the point of getting into fights with anyone he saw. In the end, he picked a fight with some young punks and ended up being beaten to death. My relatives gave my father a decent funeral, but my mother didn't attend. It's no use beating a dead horse. So, nobody said anything negative about my father, but everyone was simply puzzled as to why he changed so much. What I heard from my relatives about my father's final days was a lot stranger than what I heard from my mother. My mother only told me about his sudden rage and violence, but my relatives told me he also laughed and grew sad. Apparently, he displayed several sudden fluctuations of emotion, especially so in his last years. They also told me that he started to complain about headaches after an accident he had. My father was a construction worker. He had hit his head hard on a construction board during an accident at work. He regained his consciousness quickly and seemed fine, but since the accident, he started to have headaches and behave abnormally. I sensed the connection between the accident and my father's changes, so I talked to my professor after I went back to Tokyo.
断言はできませんが、その様子から入江君のお父さんに何らかの異常が起こっていた可能性は否めません。
I can't say for certain, but it sounds like it's possible your father suffered some kind of brain damage.
その事故の際に脳が傷つき、精神的な変化を起こしたのかもしれませんね。
There's a chance that blow to his head caused an organic mental disorder.
お父さんの晩年の言動からは、そんな患者さんに多く見られるいくつかの症状が伺えます。
The symptoms your father showed in his final years are similar to the delirium and mental fluctuations we've often seen in similar patients. Human behavior is created by the brain, and if the brain is damaged, it can cause erratic behavior. In other words, my father wasn't crazy, he was suffering from a disorder.
お父さんの遺体を検視できるなら、脳をよく調べてみるといいでしょう。
If you could perform an autopsy on him, you should check his brain carefully.
ひょっとすると腫瘍のようなものが見つかるかもしれません。
Maybe you'll find something like a tumor there. My father had already been cremated, so there was no way of knowing. But hearing about his behavior, I knew for sure. That was the only way to explain why such a quiet and gentle man would change. I tried to explain all this to my relatives to regain my father's honor, but hardly anyone understood. If his brain was damaged, he would have been dead. But he was alive and well. So the accident didn't damage his brain. It wasn't his brain that caused him to change, it was his mind. They simply brushed it off like that. This is the perception that most people have about the brain. They don't realize the mind and the brain are connected. Most of the relatives didn't believe me, but there was one person who I really wanted to anyway. That was my mother. As she got older, she grew senile, and she exaggerated the abuse she had to endure. All she did was criticize my father. It sucks to read. Man, it's rough. Family situations, dude. And every time she ended up crying, lamenting that she married him. They were a lovely couple. We were a great family. That's why I wanted to convey to her that she was misunderstanding the situation with my father. My father's behavior was caused by his brain damage. What he did to her was very sad, but he didn't want to be that way. I told her that he wasn't at fault. But my mother didn't understand. Before she took her last breaths, I begged her to forgive my father. But her final words were, "Please don't bury me next to that man." My father wasn't at fault. He was simply the victim of a brain disorder. You don't complain to a person who's coughing because he has a cold, because coughing is just a symptom, and he should be sympathized with. In my father's case, the symptoms weren't as obvious as a cough. They took the form of changes in personality, which are much harder to recognize. If I had studied the brain more, I could have explained it better to my mother so that she could have understood him. Then they could have been a nice couple again in heaven. When I realized that, I cried. And I also realized that there are plenty of people like my father in this world who are suffering from a disorder, yet they are misunderstood and despised for it. And then I found out. I found out about a miraculous cure for such disorders called a lobotomy. Ever since that day, I spent my days learning about the brain so I could help people who are suffering from mental illnesses. My father is gone, but if he was still alive, I could cure him myself. So he and my mother could reconcile. That's the main reason why I'm here. Alright, this one I'm writing, Reason to be a doctor. And then learns of lobotomies. Yeah, for some reason that fragment fucking hit me. Reading stuff like that is so sad to me. Especially like when it comes to like, I mean, it sounds so reductive, but like old people, diseases, mental decline, the effects that can have on family relationships. Just fucking gets, it all gets to me. Something that gets to me quite hard. I need to go refill my water here. So I'm considering taking a BRB really quick, but let me figure out which. So yeah, so reason to be, wasn't there one that said specifically reason to be a doctor? Motive to become a doctor. The discontinuation of Satoko Hojo's dissection plan, though. The discontinuation of Satoko Hojo's dissection plan. I'm vaguely being like I'm slightly being pulled here by the death of the construction manager for sure, and the hospitalization of Satoko Hojo. That happened in the Hojo siblings, right? She was taken to the hospital, his clinic. That would be the hospitalization, right? But then why a live specimen for research is required? A tragedy at the dam construction site is required. A live specimen for research. What is a live... I mean... Does that tie back to Satoko as well? Also, a declaration of war from Oishi is required. Is that when Oishi's like, oh, I swear I'll get back at that Sonozaki family if it's the last thing I do. Also, potentially death of Satoshi's aunt. A bat to beat her to death is required. He wasn't like, I mean, that's kind of like a hint. This is more the vague hint, right? He joins the baseball team because Irie is like, hey, you should do the sport. It wasn't as explicit as some of these other things, like the rock candy things, but a bat to beat her to death that he would get from joining the baseball team, right? No Shinto priest. And this is like catchy. Myra-san. Vacant lot. New winds. That's Rina coming in. So these are later. I think death of Satoshi's aunt, I think, is where I'm going to go next. I'm going to write this down. Death of Satoshi's aunt. What I'm going to do is throw up a quick BRB. I'm going to go to the restroom, get some water. And then if you're watching, the VOD while the BRB is happening. And if I'm gonna pick wrong when I pick Death of Sachi's Aunt, you can scream at the monitor very loud if I'm wrong. And then maybe I'll hear it through your monitor. And maybe you will change fate. Don't scrub through the VOD to the end of the BRB. Unless you don't want your magic to work. Alright? I'll be right back. Okay. Did everyone channel their energy correctly? And are you picking the right? I did save, right? I don't remember if I saved. I think I did. But I'll see. Alright. Satoshi with a bat taking out the ant. I'm so scared to click it. Come on. Come on now. Let's go. Ah! It wasn't explicit enough. It wasn't explicit enough. No. Honestly, no. It's not. It's like it never happened. All right. Don't even forget about it. I'm cutting this out of the edit. He's got to be explicitly handed a bat. The dialogue has to be like, and then he got a bat. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Shit. Okay, it's fine. Alright, do I just go second sacrifice then? Do I go with what my... See, this was my head pick. This is what my head wanted me to pick. And this is what my heart wants to pick. Ah! Should have gone with my heart. Sorry, I'm writing this now. Okay. Satoshi-kun is a good brother who takes good care of his sister. He went to visit Satoko-chan straight after school, kept encouraging her to get better every day. Without even hearing Satoshi-kun's stories, it's obvious to me that Satoko-chan never had a good relationship with her step-parents. She especially didn't get along with her stepfather. Satoko-chan even called a child abuse hotline once. Not only that, her parents ended up dying in an accident, so she just wasn't able to withstand all that damage. Satoko-chan is still very young, so everything must have been horrible for her to go through. Fortunately, she has a wonderful brother. Emotional wounds are hard to heal, but nothing heals those wounds better than love from family members. I'm sure that one day, Satoko-chan will be able to smile again. She's still in shock, but when she talks to Satoshi-kun, she smiles a little bit. Oishi from the police department keeps requesting to see her, but I think I need to protect her for just a little longer. While he's passionate about his job, I wish he'd be a touch more sensitive. If he reminds her of her parents' accident, her emotional wounds will start to open again. That's the one point I worry about with Satoko-chan. I heard someone knocking on the door. It was Takano-san. It doesn't look right wearing a nurse's uniform like that. She's a licensed doctor, so she could wear a white coat and act like one. Maybe this is fun for her, but I think she might be insulting the real nurses. I didn't say anything, though. Dr. Irie, may I talk to you?
Ah, hi.
Oh, yes.
それではサトシ君、私は失礼します。
Well, Satoshi-kun, if you'll excuse me.
はい。
Sure.
サトシくん、こんにちは。
Hello, Satoshi-kun.
サトコちゃんと遊んであげててね。
Please keep Satoko-chan company.
ずっと
Company.
一人でいるから、きっと寂しいと思うの。
She's always alone, so I bet she's lonely.
ね。
Okay?
そんなことございませんわよ。
Oh no, that's not true.
ではサトシ君、よろしくお願いします。
Okay, Satoshi-kun, you're in charge. I got up and let Satoshi-kun take over.
ところで、何かありましたか？
Did something happen?
ここではなんですので、所長室で。
Not right here. Let's go to your office. Takano-san smiled meaningfully. Usually, smiles bring happy feelings. But when it comes to Takano-san, that's rarely the case.
それは本当ですか？
Are you sure?
ええ。
Yes.
簡易検査の結果、レベル3以上と思われる高い発症レベルの可能性が指摘されました。
The initial test results show there's a possibility she's at L3 or above.
彼女をさらに入院させ、より精度の高い検査を行う必要があります。
We need to keep her here and run some more tests.
結果待ちですが、私の見たところ、レベル4の可能性すらあり得るかと。
The results aren't in yet, but from what I can see, it's very possible that she's at L4. Takano-san's eyes sparkled in a weird way. There's a reason for that. For us, finding patients in the terminal stage is a valuable boon to our research. In fact, as a result of dissecting the murder suspect from last year, we've made great progress in our research. In other words, we finally managed to isolate the pathogen. We also discovered that when the host dies, the pathogen melts away within a few hours. Once that happens, it's undetectable. That's why we never found the pathogen when we performed autopsies. Our research made a lot of progress after that. What we found in this past year has easily surpassed what the late Dr. Takano found in decades. We're now studying the nature, the effect, and the symptoms of the pathogen, as well as treatments and vaccines. In other words, a living specimen who's at the terminal stage is a necessity for our research. However, we rarely find a patient who's gone that far, who's reached L5. Hinamazawa syndrome once created huge numbers of L5 patients, but today doesn't have such potency. Because of that, we have to secure L5 patients, or patients who are close to reaching L5 as quickly as possible. Satoko-chan possibly qualifies to be that next sacrifice. To keep this strange disease a secret, we can't let patients who may be at L5 go. We have to run more tests first. Then we'll figure out what to do next. In any case, Satoko-chan seems so calm. Her behavior is nothing like the man from last year. Initial tests are in error sometimes. We'll have to wait for the results, more detailed tests to determine how serious her condition is.
わかりました。
Okay?
経過観察のため入院ということにしましょう。
Let's admit her for observation.
スタッフの皆さんへの手配をお願いいたします。
Please let the staff know to get things ready. That sounds like a formal answer, but if the results come back positive, that'll be the green light for her dissection. I don't know Satoko-chan that well, but I've known her brother, Satoshi-kun, through the baseball team for a long time. How could I dissect the apple of Satoshi-kun's eyes? I can feel very scary images flashing in my head for the first time. And then Takano's in the fucking corner laughing her ass off. God damn it, Takano.
ご安心を。
Don't worry.
万事すでに手配させておりますわ。
Everything is already taken care of. She smiled as if telling me that the dissection is already being prepared for too. Is it just her who's smiling? Am I smiling like her too? When I dissected that man last year, I did feel guilt beforehand, but once I started, it was like I was in paradise. All the pieces of the puzzle were left by the late Dr. Takano fell into place. At the same time, they didn't. How exciting it was. Knowing that we are the first ones to take the first steps to solve a mystery, that is. I don't even know how to explain this feeling to those who had never experienced it. There's no way to describe it with words. The only thing I can say is that, even a year later, I still remember it vividly. So if the results show that Satoshi-kun's beloved sister is to be dissected, can I control myself? Can I stay calm? But that means I'm a failure of a human being. I know very well that the Hojo family was treated poorly by the villagers, and I know that Satoko-chan had to go through. I know what Satoko-chan had to go through. Also, I know Satoshi-kun loves his sister, who is his one and only blood relative. How can I dissect Satoko-chan using my research as an excuse? I didn't feel much guilt for the man from last year, but I feel unbearable guilt towards Satoko-chan. That means what I did last year was very sinful. I don't care if a stranger dies, but I don't want Satoko-chan to die. That's not right. All lives are equally precious. I tried to convince myself that he was a violent murderer, but maybe he only became that way because he was at a terminal stage. I don't know anything about him before he became deranged. Maybe he was a model citizen who was worthy of respect. Unfortunately, he became ill and ended up doing what he did. Maybe he was a victim himself, just like my father. I know more about Hinamazawa syndrome than anybody. This disease makes people act in bizarre ways, without those people realizing it. So when the people at the terminal stage do such strange violent things, one should be sympathetic. I already knew that back when I decided to go down this path. I should have remembered it sooner, but I only did just now. I finally realized what sinful research I'm working on. Satoko Hojo's detailed test results came back. The results say, L5. She's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage. It's actually a surprising result. In last year's case, the patient was extremely deranged. According to Takano-san's records, he complained about itching coming from the lymph nodes all over his body and wanted to claw at his throat, just as the late Dr. Takano mentioned. But Satoko-chan isn't displaying such symptoms. Even in the late Takano's data, throat clawing is said to be a characteristic symptom of terminal stage patients. However, not all patients experience that symptom. Besides, emotional expression is very different in each person. Even if it's the same emotion, one patient may express it rather violently and another may express it calmly. There's no way of knowing by just looking at a person. But Satoko-chan's detailed test result says that she's at the terminal stage of the terminal stage, L5. In other words, she may be feeling what the man from last year was feeling. It's just that she isn't expressing that feeling the same way the man was. Yamazawa syndrome affects the frontal lobes of the brain. It stimulates the most primitive of emotions, doubt, very strongly. As a result, terminal patients are trapped in delusions of paranoia and end up committing horrible crimes. Satoko-chan seems to show improvement when she's exchanging friendly words with Satoshi-kun. But there's a paranoia stirring inside her that may put her in a deranged state at any moment. I can't let her leave the clinic like this. However, if things go according to the manual, I will have to make a decision on her dissection. My decision will only be a formality. I can't actually refuse. Takano-san appears to be already working on the dissection schedule. That plan will then come to me. Would I feel the same way while dissecting Satoko-chan? Would I be able to experience that trance once again? No. The question is, can I fight the temptation? As I pretend to question myself, I'm letting Takano-san prepare things on her own. By doing so, am I passively agreeing to Satoko-chan's dissection? If possible, I want to save Satoko-chan. I don't want her to be a sacrifice for this research. I don't want to dissect her. Then, what about the man from last year? Do I only care about the lives of the people I know? If I don't dissect her, do I let her live and leave the clinic? Do I simply wait for her to become deranged and commit a horrible crime? And then she'll end up here, just like the man from last year, and I'll end up dissecting her anyway? The man from last year was dissected alive and kept that way for several months. With his skull left open, he wasn't allowed to die for several months. He was kept alive just for a cruel experience. I don't want to do that to her. I don't know what to do. Even debating and agonizing over it is leading toward consent to her dissection by elimination. Ugh. Tough. Tough. The second sacrifice, the death, yeah, so I'm writing, let's see, the second sacrifice, Satoko test results come in, Irie has regrets. Yeah, I mean, Satoko test results come in. Irie has regrets. Regrets over dissection. That works. So then that comes to the question, the first sacrifice. So obviously they're calling her the second sacrifice to the test, the dissection testing and everything. A live specimen for research is required and a tragedy at the dam construction site is required. Who's a live specimen that they're... This is close. This would be an L5 stage patient's dissection is required. Is there? Queen Carrier must be willing to participate. Not yet. It's not the baseball bat. Satoko Hojo's detailed test decision is required. Would it be this then? Dose experiment? I'm feeling this. I'm not so confident. I mean, we've had the reference to this. And why would... If it is like massively timeline based, basically, then why would... especially if this has been referenced, why would I not feel comfortable? And why wouldn't it be able to be picked if we've gotten the second in? The decision. His decision? Decision. The decision might be on if he was willing to do the experimentation. This is the discontinuation, so when it says we're not going to... But he hasn't decided not to yet. I'm pissed I picked the wrong one once. I failed. I failed myself and I failed everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slight fever. Slight fever. Bottle of wine. Oh, we should do this. Rock candy and then Satoko Hojo's detailed test result. That's very clear. This is so clear. I'm not gonna save. That's how bold I'm gonna be about it. Suffering of a big brother. Clicking. Oh, look at the happy music all of a sudden. A group of boys are playing baseball under the powerful sun. The sound of cicadas makes the heat stand out even more, but to those boys, it's just another kind of cheering from the crowds. Of course, they go through training exercises to build stamina, but the boys don't actually like routine activities. What they look forward to the most is the free game after practice. The school in Yanamazawa is actually borrowed from the forestry service. The schoolyard is made of gravel, so it's not very appropriate for playing sports on. Compared to that, the grounds of the school in Okinomiya are properly maintained for athletic activities, so the kids grow even more energetic when they come here. Kids from Yanamazawa really don't care if the ground is made of gravel or not. The other instructor is watching the game, so I decided to go get some drinks for the team. Coach, where are you going?
皆さんにジュースを買ってこようと思いまして。
I thought I'd go get some drinks for everyone.
もしよかったら、サトシ君も手伝ってくださるととても助かるのですが。
Do you mind helping me, Satoshi-kun?
はい。
Oh, no.
お手伝いします。
Not at all. Satoshi-kun decided to come along with me. Sometimes kids don't like what grown-ups choose, so I'm glad he agreed to help. Satoshi-kun and I got in the car and headed to the grocery store nearby.
監督。
Manager?
サトコの具合はどうなんですか?
How is Satoko doing?
ええ。
Well...
経過は良好ですよ。
She's doing fine.
本当にゆっくりとですが、サトコちゃんの心の傷も癒えてきています。
Although it's an extremely slow process, her emotional wounds are healing.
もう少しだけ安静にしてあげた方がいいでしょう。
I think we should let her rest for a little longer. It's natural for Satoshi-kun to be worried. Satoko-chan has been in the hospital for over 2 weeks. Of course, he doesn't know his sister has Inamazawa syndrome. Not only that, she's almost at L5. She could become deranged at any moment. He believes she's depressed because of the shock of their parents' accident. He came to the clinic every day to cheer his sister up, but Satoko-chan has become emotionally unstable and was showing some dangerous symptoms, so we called off the visits. In fact, Satoko-chan is not doing so well. L5, the stage Satoko-chan is at, is a very abnormal one. The man from last year, who was at the same stage, was acting so abnormal that even a drug addict in his final stages would have turned and ran. There's no guarantee Satoko-chan won't fall into the same condition. When we performed the autopsy on the man last year, we learned the true identity of his syndrome. and gained a great understanding of its mechanisms. We even discovered some important facts that may lead to the development of a cure. However, we have yet to find a method of actually curing the disease. So, if Satoko-chan becomes unrecoverable, we may have to dissect her, just like we did the man from last year. How can I tell Satoshi-kun about his sister's situation? All I can do is make vague comments and lie to him that she's recovering. What if she becomes much worse? That would make me an unforgivable liar. The tiny bit of conscience that remains in me hurts.
もし監督の診療所のご迷惑でなければ。
If it's okay with your clinic.
もうしばらく入院させてもらった方がいいかもしれません。
Can she stay there a little longer?
それはどういう意味ですか?
Why are you saying that? I thought he wanted her to come home as soon as possible, so I'm a little surprised.
いえ。
Well,
実は聡子は
actually,
あまりおばさん一家とも馴染めていないんです。
Satoko doesn't get along with our aunt.
聡子ちゃんがご両親とあまり良い関係ではなかったと聞いていましたが。
I heard she didn't get along with her parents.
新しく預けられたおばさん夫婦ともなのですか?
But she can't get along with your aunt and uncle either?
聡子は大人にはあまり心を開かないので。
Sasuke doesn't open up to grown-ups. Satoshi-kun has told me about their family background. Their mother's constant remarriage has wounded her children deeply. Satoshi-kun was able to overcome it, but Satoko-chan was too young to be able to do that. That left her traumatized. She now has a tendency to distrust or dislike guardians who aren't related to her. Actually, nobody would like a guardian who isn't related to them. It's not just Satoko-chan. But usually people try to deal with that, even if they don't like it. I guess Satoko-chan's not capable of that.
おじさんはあまり家に帰ってこないし、いても寝てるかテレビを見てるかなので、そんなに問題はないんですが。
Our uncle isn't home much. Besides, even when he is, he's either sleeping or watching TV, so he's not the problem.
おばさんがものすごく聡子に絡むんです。
But our aunt really goes after Satoko.
どうしてそんなに嫌われてしまったんでしょうね?
Why doesn't she like her? I can guess why. Satoko-chan's parents were dam proponents, and because of that, the villagers considered the aunt and uncle part of the Hojo family and ostracized them as such. Moreover, they passed away suddenly in an accident and left 2 children behind, so I guess there would be more hate than their gratitude. Hate there than gratitude. If she had been obedient like Satoshi-kun, everything would have been fine. But Satoko-chan can't be that way. She shows that in her attitude and expressions, which leads to her and her aunt having a big fight.
僕もおばさんに聡子の事情を説明してはいるのですが。
I've told my aunt about Satoko's situation.
なかなか分かってもらえなくて。
But she just can't understand.
その度に聡子ちゃんをかばってあげるサトシ君はお兄さんの鏡だと思いますよ。
I think you're a great big brother, Satoshi-kun.
今や聡子ちゃんにとって唯一の肉親はサトシ君だけなのかもしれませんからね。
You're the one and only relative Satoko-chan has left now.
そうですね。そんな気がしてます。
Right. I feel that way too. Satoshi-kun said with a slight hint of a sigh. He doesn't say it, but it seems Satoshi-kun has grown tired of having to cover for Satoko-chan every time she and her aunt fight. He's a good person, as well as a good big brother, so I'm sure he'll do anything to cover for his sister. But that's a very exhausting thing to keep going forever. Satoshi-kun was already doing that when their parents were alive. And eventually, his mental equilibrium couldn't handle the strain. He grew sick, and he visited my clinic. I thought his circumstances might have improved after their initial cause. His parents were gone, but it seems things were even worse than before.
わかりました。
I understand.
そんな状況で聡子ちゃんを退院させたらまた心の症状がぶり返してしまうかもしれませんね。
I can't release Satoko-chan if things are like that. Her symptoms may return again.
入院費のことは気にしないでください。
Don't worry about the hospital fees.
聡子ちゃんが本当の意味で回復するまで私が責任を持ってお預かりします。
I'll make sure Satoko-chan truly recovers. While trying to pretend I'm listening to his requests, I feel a little disgusted at myself for making such selfish excuses. I'll make sure. Takano-san is working on her dissection plan as we speak.
お願いできると
If that's
僕も
possible,
少しだけ助かります。
if that's possible, that'll help me too.
はい。
What?
いえ、さとこがもうしばらく入院しててくれたら、僕もその分気が楽だなって。
I mean, if Satoko stays in the clinic a little while longer, then I can relax as well.
思っただけです。
That's all.
それはどういう意味ですか？
What do you mean?
さとこが帰ってきたら、どうせまたおばと喧嘩をするだろうと思います。
As soon as Satoko comes back, I know she'll get into fights with my aunt again.
そうしたらまた喧嘩や怒鳴り声ばかりの日になって、僕もそれに巻き込まれるのかなって思うと。
Then it's back to those days of constant fighting and screaming again. And I'll probably get dragged into it too.
さとこはずっと入院しててくれるのが一番僕にとって気楽なことなんじゃないかって、そう思ってしまう自分がいて。
So if Satoko were hospitalized for a very long time, that would be the easiest on me. But when I think about that,
嫌になります。
I hate myself.
サトシ君。
Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun is a great big brother who always sticks up for his little sister. But that doesn't mean he doesn't feel burdened.
そんなことを考えてしまうなんて、僕はなんて悪い兄なんだろうって思います。
To think things like that. What a terrible big brother I am.
そうだと思えば思うほど自分が嫌になって。
The more I think that way, the more I hate myself. Satoshi-kun said, sniffling once. His expression was one of anguish, as if truly feeling his own sin. Ooh, something about sin, right? Yeah, there was something about sin. His expression was one of anguish, as if truly feeling his own sin. His desire to be a model big brother is putting himself under greater pressure. I feel bad for Satoko-chan, but I also feel bad for Satoshi-kun in a different way. As someone who knows the both of them well, I feel that I must be their ally, since they don't have anyone else who cares about them. Alright, suffering of a big brother. How would we say this? Only because I definitely feel like it was a thing, right? I'm gonna say Satoshi... yeah, Satoshi's awareness of sin. The forgiveness of Rina Ryugu's sin. That definitely hasn't happened. Satoshi awareness of sin asks to have Satoko stay at hospital longer. Okay. Did we just take the dive on this first sacrifice one? Now the seal has been broken. I mean, I hate to treat it like this, but I had to do the save scum thing, right? So do I click it with, not with reckless abandon? We haven't discontinued her dissection plan yet, so we can't pick that. This could be C103 dose experiment. I think I want to try that. I'm going to save though first. Save for safety. Huh! Fuck! Shit! Oh man! What? So where's the Hojo's detailed test result? We did get the test result. Decision. Oh, his decision. It's his decision about not wanting to do the... That's on me. I misinterpreted the whole... Because I misread that before, and then I went back to my old understanding of that sentence. But it's really... We need to see him say, like, hey, we're not doing the dissecting. Fuck. Forget that one happened too, guys. Just forget that one. Forget that one, forget that one, forget that one, forget that one. I'm singing in hopes that you, that it distracts you that I clicked the wrong one again. You know what? Let's go for first sacrifice. Yes. Alright, well, you know. You just have to listen to the phone ring as I write this down. Okay. I was half asleep, so I didn't even hear the phone ringing nearby. After a while, finally realized the phone was ringing, and ringing phone means there's some kind of emergency. It's 2 in the morning. Who would even call me at this time of the night? Hello? This is Irie. I'm sorry to bother you, Dr. Irie. It's Takano-san. She's never called me for a personal reason. At the institute, she's ranked just below me, so she's basically responsible for running it. So for her to call me this late at night, it must be an emergency. Sorry it took me so long. Is it true that we have another terminal patient? Yes. I was hoping to find a living specimen, so this is perfect. I initially thought that she'd abducted someone. The man had already been moved to the research area in the clinic's basement. Having been tied down to the examination table, he's struggling against his restraints, but more as though he's deranged than actually resisting. I can't even understand what he's saying. He sounds angry, sorrowful, like a child throwing a tantrum all at once. It's obvious that he's not in the right state of mind. Anyway, let's put him under anesthesia. He might kill himself otherwise. I wanted to observe him a little longer, but I guess I have no other choice. One of the staff with a white gown got the anesthesia ready. Even a normal person would struggle to escape a restraining table in this suspicious room, but this man's behavior is an abnormal level. I'm sure Okanogi-san and his friends from the Mountain Dogs are the ones who captured him. Capturing a man in this state of mind couldn't have been an easy task. According to Takano, she ran into this patient on her way home from the clinic by accident. She brought him back here, tested him, and the result came back positive. Of course, I have no intention of just believing what she's telling me. But there is no question that this man is at the terminal stage, and a live specimen is exactly what we need to research the syndrome. Who is this man anyway? He had something wrapped in newspaper. What do you think was in it? Why the fuck is she like answer these riddles 3 that I have? Just fucking tell me the answer, Takano. What is this? There's something wrapped in a bloody newspaper on a tray nearby. Looking at the blood-drenched paper, I can only imagine there's something gruesome inside of it. Yet Takano-san looked like she wanted to surprise me with something interesting. Oh, God, this is awful. It's a bloody right arm. The man on the table still has his. This right arm doesn't belong to him. So who does it belong to? I am used to looking at things like this as a doctor, but the horrible cross-section makes me want to look away. It wasn't done according to a medically acceptable method, that's for sure. It was obviously done out of cruelty.
状況から考えてこの男が切り取ったものと考えていいでしょうね。
Judging by the situation, we can assume this man cut off this arm.
つまり彼は近隣で起こった何らかの死体遺棄事件の犯人ということですね。
So he's the culprit behind the body dumping that's been occurring in the neighborhood? At that point, there was no way of knowing who the right arm belonged to. But the next morning, the dismemberment murder of the dam construction site director was reported. And they mentioned that his right arm is still missing, so we learned who the arm belonged to.
この男前科者だそうで、しかもその上執行猶予期間中だとか。
This man has a criminal record and he's on probation.
にもかかわらずまた罪を犯してしまうなんて。
Yet he committed another crime.
それで殺人の発覚を恐れて遺体を隠そうと思ったのでしょうね。
I bet he dismantled the body in order to hide it.
状況にもよるでしょうが、懲役数年で済むというものではなさそうですね。
I'm sure it depends on the circumstances, but he'll get more than just a few years in prison.
入江所長もこんな社会のクズが相手なら解剖に躊躇はないのでは？
So you won't hesitate to dissect a scumbag like him, right?
社会のクズがさらに犯罪を重ね、さらにその上、ひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化したのか。
Who knows? Maybe it was a scumbag before and became violent due to the syndrome.
それとも前科を食いる善良な小市民がひなみ沢症候群で凶暴化して罪を犯したのか、どちらかは分かりません。
Or maybe he had gone straight, but became violent again due to the syndrome.
前者ならともかく、後者ならば彼には何の罪もありませんよ。
The former is one thing, but if it's the latter case, it's not his fault. That's why Hinamizawa syndrome is so terrifying. We can't tell if the syndrome is the cause of the crime or if it's simply a problem of human nature. But what causes a defect of human nature in the first place? That was precisely Irie's area of research. Hate the crime, not the criminal. Can criminals only be corrected by punishing them with imprisonment? If a person commits a crime because of mental disorder, but then gets treatment, he is corrected. In other words, there are no crimes in this world, only patients awaiting treatment without anyone else being able to understand them. In medieval times, patients with mental disorders were said to be possessed by demons and they were either confined or killed. Centuries after, they were finally acknowledged as mentally ill people who needed treatment. Perception can change with time. Even if they are called criminals now, maybe after several centuries, those criminals will be acknowledged as patients who are entitled to appropriate treatment. Explaining crimes through illness instead of malice. That's my life's work. Hinamizawa syndrome is a strange disease that can support my theory. Solving its mysteries is extremely important to me. To solve those mysteries, I need a medical sacrifice. It's an extremely sinful thing to do, but there's no way to unravel this without it. What was that? It's an extremely sinful thing to do, but there's no way to unravel this without it. Yes. Okay. The Irie Institute was authorized to take such drastic measures if necessary. That's why I was asked about it so many times when I accepted the position of director. And finally, the opportunity is here. This will be the first step of our research on this strange disease. But even now, I am a little hesitant. I've opened up human bodies in many surgeries. What I'll be doing on this man is something very similar. But there's also something that's very different. What I did before was part of treatment. I did it to save the patient's lives. I did it so the patients could have a better future. But what I'm trying to do here isn't treatment. He will die at the end of it. His death will be far from humane. I'm going to violate nature and force him to stay alive while I open up his living brain.
入江所長、
Director Irie,
聞いてらっしゃいます？
are you listening?
ああ、すみません。
Sorry.
もう一度お願いします。
Could you repeat that?
解剖計画書を提出し、東京に応援を要請した方が良いかと思います。
I believe it best that we submit the dissection proposal to Tokyo and request their assistance.
何しろ、単に生きてるだけでなく、末期症状を起こしている大変貴重な検体ですもの。
He's not only alive, he's also in the terminal stage, so he's an extremely important specimen.
慎重な解剖が求められますわね。
We must conduct the dissection very carefully.
そうですね。
That's true.
おっしゃる通りです。
You're right.
そのようにしましょう。
Let's do as you say.
それまでに数日の猶予があると思います。
I think we'll have a few days before the dissection.
そこで麻酔を解いていくつかの反応実験をしてみたいのですが。
So I want to run some reaction tests once he's off the anesthetic.
危険ではありませんか？
Do you think that's safe?
たとえ拘束を解かなくても何が起こるかわかりませんよ。
Even if he's restrained, we don't know what will happen.
ようやく手に入った生きのいい検体なんですもの。
We finally have the opportunity to test a live specimen.
ただ脳を覗くだけじゃもったいないですわ。
We can't only look into his brain. Evil laugh. Takano-san's unusual cheerfulness made me feel odd. Maybe her reaction is normal. Maybe I'm the one who's not reacting normally in this situation. I'm here only for the research, so I should be excited to have the opportunity to perform our first live dissection. But I'm still hesitant. How can I call myself a researcher? Researchers of the past were brave enough to cross the line, and that's how they accomplished many things. I've seen many brains, I've operated on them. I've lost some patients too. But I never thought anything of it, because I knew I did the right thing. Even when my hard work was denied afterwards. If it pained me to think of that, then I just needed to advance the field of medicine to ensure their deaths weren't wasted. That's the true form of those advancing the field of medicine. Yet, why was my heart tormented so much just by changing the name from treatment to dissection? Does it mean I'm not man enough to emulate those great men of the past who opened the doors to new medicine? That I don't have the power to develop new advances myself?
あら。
Hey,
どうなさいましたの、所長。
what's the matter, doctor?
お休みのところを無理に起こしてしまったので、ご気分が優れませんのかしら？
Are you feeling okay? Takano's pretending to be concerned about me, but she knows. She knows I'm still hesitating, and she's telling me that I should be ashamed as a researcher for feeling that way. I shook my head to clear it of sleepiness. Remember the result that brought me here to this day. I already have blood on my hands, but if I stop now, their lives will be wasted. Those who shed their blood can only rest in peace once they become the cornerstones of great research. I shook my head once more and reminded myself that I'm a researcher.
いえ、
No,
考え事をしていただけです。
I was just thinking.
高野さんは東京との調整をお願いいたします。
Takano-san, please make some arrangements to Tokyo.
日程が決まりましたら教えてください。
And let me know when it's done.
ええ、了解いたしましたわ。
Okay, understood.
眠気も吹っ飛んでしまいますわね。
This is really exciting. The least I can do is my best, so his life won't be wasted. If he bleeds, I can't waste even a drop of his blood. After scolding my staff for their indiscretion of discussing the dissection with such excitement, I returned to my office. First sacrifice, Irie feels weird. Irie feels weird. Questions ethics of dissection. And then Takano enjoying it too much. There we go. Perfect note. So Irie feels weird. Questions ethics of dissection. Takano enjoying it too much. Easy. Alright, where are we heading next? Let's try to get, like, at least a couple more of these knocked out. Decision hasn't been made. Oh, I should also keep track of how many times I've fucked up. I should have a little section that says number of strikes, right? The answer is 2 so far. 2 strikes on me. Let's try not to get a 3rd. I wonder what people think is an appropriate amount of times to mess up. No, I already know. People are gonna be like, oh, if you're really good, if you're really paying attention, you shouldn't have any strikes. You shouldn't ever pick the wrong thing. Hold your comments. If that's your comment, hold it. I don't want to hear it. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear how perfect you are. The perfect Higurashi player. We haven't discontinued the dissection plan yet. We know his motive of becoming a doctor, though. That's not there yet. That's not there yet. Nope. The aunt's death has not happened yet. That's going to happen here. And this, we haven't been explicitly given a bat. The research on those, no. What was this one? No. That was, we incorrectly picked that earlier. Hit its first snag? That's not nowhere near it. Hojo's sense of responsibility of Big Brother is required. Refuse his visit. That's kind of, I'm not convinced really of those. No. Fever and slight fever. Prior consent for the collection of cerebrospinal fluid. No. Bottle wine, no. Shinto priest thing hasn't happened. Part-time job. No. Awareness of sins, the forgiveness of Rina Ryugu's sins. No, we haven't done Rina yet. The move has not happened. The Ryugu family's move is required. A watermelon. A red capsule. Satoshi Hojo's awareness of sins has happened. But the mysterious deaths of the Furude couple has not. Tea set. No. Changing schools. A raw sea urchin and vitamin A are required. So then where do we go? What the fuck? Is it technically this? They talked about... Did the sister refuse to have the brother visit her? What was the line? They were in the car going to get drinks, but it wasn't... I remember it said something about him visiting her. I don't think it's directly said. I just don't think... And then, sense of responsibility... An execution order for the 3rd year's curse. No. 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 Definitely not. No. High fever. High fever. Prior consent of the collection. This seems like it would be way early in the timeline, though. I mean... I should just pick, because I'm just wasting time by not picking. And I've already, like I said, I've already broken the seal of incorrectness. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not the biggest of deals, but like... I'm picking this because if I'm thinking timeline. But I'm not going to be shocked if it says this fragment can't be connected. Yeah. Yeah. I should have known. Fuck. That's another strike. I'm 3 strikes bad. Well then, what the fuck? What was the other one I was thinking, possibly? Not that. It's the one with this, maybe. Must refuse visit at the clinic. I see we didn't refuse. It's so not going to be this. It is so not this. A red capsule. What was well, formation of a club with Sachi Hojo's awareness of sins. The mysterious death of the Furude couple is required. Has that technically happened? Because, but we didn't. Again, we didn't explicitly see it. No. 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 What do I pick here? Why am I having trouble with this all of a sudden? It's struggling. 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 What did I pick the 2 that weren't correct here? This one and... Did I pick, this? Yeah. So maybe I should try... Now I'm just blind guessing, it feels like. Did I already try that? Did I? Now I can't even keep track of the ones I've already picked. Oh, man. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. How do I not... I'm so... I see, starting off, I thought I was so good. It was all making sense, and... Apparently there's just one... There must be one wording of something that I'm just not understanding exactly how it wants it to be read. If that makes sense. He hasn't decided not to do the dissection, though, right? In that second sacrifice... But it hadn't decided that they weren't going... He hadn't decided. Third year's curse of Oishiro-sama. No. Death hasn't happened of the ant. Because that's gonna happen here. And then the truth of the park. Results of that. Execution order. There's like some that are just so completely not right. High fever. One, two, three, four. It's gonna get I'm knocking at your door. So, Kazumi Sensei. Roll of a 1. I mean, yeah, none of these. I mean, like, I don't just want a blind guess. I want to be using the brain. We picked this a little while ago, a couple steps ago, and it wasn't right. Satsuko Hojo's detailed test results, yes. His decision. Did he make the decision during that? The suffering of Big Brother? Because that would have been that's the one we picked after picking this and got it wrong, I think. They sit in the car, they're getting drinks. Fuck it. Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have picked it. I shouldn't have picked it, man. I'm gonna blame... Remember when earlier I was asking for people to yell at their monitors to give me energy? I'm gonna blame not enough energy was being given. Yes, you, Timmy, at home. You weren't giving me enough energy. You weren't sending me energy. Past me was not receiving enough. I mean... Queen Carrier must be willing to participate. Queen Carrier... The one thing I fear is that if, like, I'm supposed to go, like, way over here, and I'm, like, dismissing all of these just because... But, like, these are just, I mean... Those aren't, like, related. Bum, bum, ba-da, bum, bum, bum. Discontinuation of Satoru's dissection plan. Did I click this already? Now, again, I'm not even keeping... I should be keeping track of what I've tried clicking. Now I can't even remember. This probably would have been something I clicked like 2 minutes ago, and I'm like, did I click that? Death of the Ant. No. But I'm running out of options. There's not... No. Completion of the medicine. Fever. 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 Rika. Fever. I click disappointment. I receive disappointment. Is it just that I have a tired brain at the moment? Is that just... Is it obvious and I'm... It can't be any of these. Red capsule, no. Ryuga family's move, no. Move, no. The death of the Furude couple, and we tried clicking that and it was no. Vacant lot, no. Like, I'm eliminating the ones. Bottle wine for a toast. Jiro Tomotake's promise. The draft of an emergency manual. The draft of an emergency manual. No. Shopping trip, Shinto priest. We haven't seen a Shinto priest contacting the institution. Footsteps hasn't been a thing. High fever. Fever. Ba, 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 da, 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 na. Don't look now, but we have quickly passed 8 incorrect choices now. This is getting comical. You know what else is deja vu? Me selecting the wrong things. Like I'm about to just pick. I almost have to just like start picking everything and then just seeing what happens. Like I'm about to just call it quits for the night. This is so like I shouldn't be as bothered as I am, but I am, and also realizing that it has been a long Saturday. Because it might be that principle where like, oh, if I come back on a refreshed brain, and it's like, of course I should have picked this from the get-go. As long as this game isn't doing something weird where it's like you have to pick like the same story twice for whatever reason. That would I don't think the game would do something that crazy to me. The Third Year's Curse, red capsule. I don't know why I pick it. I pick it because I'm like, man, maybe there's something I'm just completely not thinking. You know? Like, I must be just missing, again, what I would say is, oh, the wording of like a thing, right? How something is... Well, it's not going to be this because it's not this. And this has the same requirement, if not. The ant hasn't died. It can't be this. Is it the third sacrifice? Rika's father being marked as an opportunist? Rika's mother's suspicion? I mean, I'm desperate at this point. Oh my god, that's bad pick number 11. All this is getting cut out of the YouTube VOD. No one on YouTube is watching this. Disaster. I don't know what to do, man. Okay. I think we've tried everything on this front page. I think, right? I mean, we haven't picked this, but like, the ant's not dead. We're gonna see the death of the ant here. It has to be picked there. It's not this. It's not this. I tried that. This says the truth about this, so it's not gonna be. And it's definitely not that. No snag has been hit, and the instructions for kidnapping hasn't happened. Completion of C17, that's... Okay, to be fair, I thought the C17 thing was gonna be... Got the numbers part mixed up, but like... Deja vu? No way. You know what might be a smarter way of doing this? Just click until I find the correct one, right? I mean, I'm counting these all as wrong picks, but like... Oh, I'm gonna run out of area of putting all these X's I've got on this page. It's not gonna be anything on that page. Shimaibara. T set. No. Verde couple hasn't died. We tried that. Ryugu family move hasn't happened. Family hasn't moved. Red capsule is a later thing. I mean, I have to... A Shinto priest? Footsteps? Fuck. Part-time job? Is there a box somewhere that I'm not seeing? Is there a hidden page somewhere? A bottle of wine. I can't even remember if I picked this one yet already. I probably have. I feel as if I'm being japed. Or this is like one of those very unfortunate situations where it's literally like one thing that I have not yet picked. Oh, what is this? What? Okay. Okay. What? Huh? What is this one? Requesting assistance from a queen. The research needs to have hit its first snag. Instructions for the kidnapping operation of the minister's grandson? When? Where? How? Why? Where? When? Did I miss something? What snag? I mean... Instructions for the kidnapping operation of the minister's grandson. You know what? I'm not mad. I'm not even disappointed in myself. You know what I mean? Alright, let's read this one. And then I assume this is, since it's especially good, you know, from a queen, it's going to be the queen carrier must be willing to participate. I assume that. And then probably around that one. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm sure there's an explanation for it. That I'm just too dumb to understand. That very night, the head of the Furude family, the priest, gathered his wife and Rika together for a family meeting. In Yamazawa, it was a tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. So it was hardly unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kimiyoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out opinions among themselves. However, the Furude family had lost its branch families, so there were only 3 of them left. So until that day, they had never had a family meeting at all. What is it? You're being so formal. Is it about the dam construction? The dam was the most important issue in the village at the moment. The wife naturally assumed the priest wanted to talk about the dam. For him to gather all of them together like that, it must be a huge decision he had to make. Perhaps he was going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp.
Yeah,
No, it's not about the dam.
この村に関わる、いや、この村のご先祖様たちにも関わる、とても大事な問題だ。
But it's about something extremely important which concerns this village. Perhaps all the ancestors of the village too. Villagers too. The Furude family had served in the priesthood of Oishiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out that way, must be something extremely important. Yet, he said it wasn't about the dam, so what could he want to talk about?
私は入り婿だ。
I married into this family.
だから、フルデ家の本当の血を受け継ぐお前とリカにはよく聞いてほしい。
So I want you and Rika, who carry the true blood of the Furude family, to listen very carefully.
お前たちは普通の人間ではないのだ。
You two aren't normal human beings.
僕はお社様の生まれ変わりなのですよ。
I'm the reincarnation of Oishiro-sama, right?
リカ、そういうのは口にしてはいけません。
Rika, you shouldn't say such things.
あなた、そういう話はリカのいないところでしましょう。
Dear, let's talk about things like that without her.
それでなくても、集会所のお年寄りたちがリカに妙なことばかり吹き込んで。
She's heard enough nonsense from the elderly people at the village hall already.
そのお社様の生まれ変わりというのがどうも本当らしいのだ。
What she just said about her being the reincarnation of Oishiro-sama, that appears to be true.
は？
What?
少し長い話になる。
It's a rather long story.
二人ともしばらく黙って私の話を聞きなさい。
Please, just sit tight and listen to me. The wife had a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he was going to say, but Rika was completely relaxed, wearing her usual carefree expression. The priest started to talk after his wife calmed down.
この村には大昔からある病気があるのだ。
There's a disease in this village that's been here for many years.
それはこの地にだけある特別な病気、フード病というものらしい。
It's a special disease which only exists here in this area.
それにはこの村に住む者が全員かかっている。
Everyone who lives in this village has this disease.
今この村に住んでいる者だけではない。
Not only the people who live here now,
大昔から住んでいたご先祖様たちもみんなずっとこの病気にかかってきたのだ。
but all the people who ever lived here had the disease.
そんな。
What?
だって私たちはみんな普通に生活していますよ。
But we're all perfectly healthy.
この村だけの病気なんて聞いたこともない。
I've never heard of a disease exclusive to this village.
落ち着きなさい。
Calm down.
その病気はな、この村にいる限り何も問題はないのだ。
As long as we are here in this village, the disease won't cause any problems.
だがこの村を出て遠くの地へ行くと発病してしまう。
But once you move away from this village, that's when it starts to act out.
わかるか？
Do you understand?
わかるわけないでしょ。何のことだかさっぱり。
How can you expect me to understand such a thing? I have no idea what you're talking about.
お社様のたたりと同じなのです。
It's the same as the curse of Oishiro-sama. Rika said so calmly while her mother became frustrated.
そうだ。
That's right.
この村から離れるとたたりがあるのと同じなのだ。
They say that when you leave this village, you're cursed. It's just like that.
つまりお社様のたたりだとご先祖様たちが代々恐れてきたのはこの村だけにしかない風土病のせいだったのだ。
In other words, the curse of Oishiro-sama, which our ancestors have feared for generations, is actually a disease that only exists in this village.
そんなことあるわけないです。
How could that be possible?
だって私たちだって時には村を離れることもあるじゃないですか。
We've left the village before.
村の人だって仕事で遠くへ出かける人だっているし、海外に出かける人だって。
Other villagers too. Some have gone on business trips and some even traveled to foreign countries.
うん。
True.
それは長い時間を経て病気が徐々に弱まってきたかららしい。
But that's probably because the disease has weakened over a long time.
だからこのままさらに長い時間をかければ消えてなくなってしまうものだったのだ。
So, it was going to disappear eventually.
だがそれがダム戦争のせいでおかしくなったらしい。
But the business with the dam disrupted that process.
ダム戦争で今村中が熱に浮かされたように興奮している状態にあるのはみんなも分かっているだろう。
Everyone knew that during the dam war, the entire village was aflame with agitation.
そういう興奮状態や情緒不安定な状態はこの病気を悪化させてしまうらしいのだ。
Such excitement, emotional instability makes this disease stronger.
よく話がわかりませんけど。
I still don't know what you're trying to say.
つまりこの大昔からたたりだと呼んできたものはすべてその病気の仕業だとおっしゃるんですね。
What we thought was a curse all this time was actually caused by the disease?
そうだ。
That's right.
お社様の作った決まりはすべてこの病気から村人を守るための決まりだったのだ。
All the rules Oyoshiro-sama came up with were to protect the villagers from the disease.
そんな。
No way!
それじゃお社様は神様ではなく病気が正体なんですか？
Then Oyoshiro-sama is actually a disease, not a god?
そんなこと
How could that be?
古出家代々のご先祖様たちに説明できますか？
How can I explain that to the Furude family ancestors?
落ち着きなさい。
Calm down.
お社様の信仰は変わらない。
The faith in Oyoshiro-sama won't change.
お社様がひなみ沢を見守ってくださることに何の変わりもない。
The fact that Oyoshiro-sama is watching over Inamizawa will remain the same.
お社様のたたりを再現する病気がこの村には大昔からあったということ。それだけなんだ。
It just means the disease producing Oyoshiro-sama's curse was in this village since long ago. That's all.
そんなのは認められません。
I won't accept that.
そんなこと亡くなった先代や先々代に説明できますか？
How can I explain that to our ancestors?
古出家数百年の伝統に対する、いえ
This is a desecration of the Furude family's age-old traditions.
お社様に対する冒涜です。
No, this is a desecration of Oishiro-sama.
そんなことをあなたに吹き込んだのは誰ですか？
Who told you such a thing?
失礼極まりない。
This isn't acceptable.
大地、そんな変な病気が実在するという証拠があるんですか？
In the first place, can you prove such a disease actually exists?
ある。
I can.
それはどんな？
What kind of proof?
誰が？
Who gave it to you?
厚生省と国立感染症予防研究所の方からだ。
The people from the Ministry of Health and the National Institute of Infectious Disease Prevention.
病原体もすでに特定され、現在治療方法などを研究している最中だという。
They've already found the pathogen, and they're searching for a cure right now.
先週、実際にその資料や標本などを見せてもらった。
I saw the documents and the samples last week.
厚生省の方はこの病気をひなみ沢症候群と呼んでいるらしい。
The people at the Ministry of Health call it Hinamizawa syndrome.
そんな。
No way.
ひなみ沢症候群は普通に生活している分には何も影響のない無害なものらしい。
As long as you lead a normal life, the syndrome is harmless.
だが、ひなみ沢を遠く離れたり、精神や情緒が不安定になったりすると発病しやすくなるという。
But once you go far from Hinamizawa, or if you become emotionally unstable, it's easy for the disease to manifest itself.
発病すると妄想などに取りつかれ、最悪の場合、異常行動に出ることもあるらしい。
When the disease acts out, you can be possessed by your own delusions, and in the worst case scenario, you can go mad.
この病気は戦争中に発見されたんだそうだ。
They discovered this disease during the war.
戦地でひなみ沢の兵隊だけ異常な病気を起こすことがあるのに、偉い学者の先生が気がついて、研究がずっと進められてきたんだという。
A distinguished scholar noticed that only the soldiers from Hinamizawa came down with an abnormal disease, and he has been researching it all these years.
その辺の話はだいぶ詳しくしてもらったんだが、すまん。
They explained some details of this research, but I'm sorry.
難しい内容だったので、私の口からはこれ以上うまく説明できん。
They're too complicated for me to explain.
もし私の説明では納得できんというなら、お前も直接話を聞いてみればいい。
If you don't believe what I'm saying, why don't you go listen to them yourself?
私だって最初は何をバカなことを、お社様を冒涜する気かと憤慨していたのだから。
At first I was indignant too, wondering how they dared to blaspheme Oishiro-sama and spout such nonsense. Blaspheme.
その病気を研究するために入江診療所が作られたというんだ。
The Irie Clinic was built to study the syndrome.
あそこは表向きはただの診療所ということになっているが、実際は病気を調べるための隠し研究所らしい。
It appears to be just a clinic on the outside, but it's actually a secret research center for studying the syndrome.
秘密で研究しているなんてうさんくさいじゃないですか。
Secret research? That's ridiculous.
それも厚生省がやっていることなら堂々とやればいいじゃないですか。
If it's actually backed by the Ministry of Health, why aren't they doing it out in the open?
いや、そうはいかんらしい。
Well, I guess they can't.
この病気の実態を把握しないまま存在するという事実だけが不十分な知識で広まってしまったら、病気を持っている人たちはもちろん無関係の人々も勘違いした差別を受けることになる。
For example, think about leprosy victims who were misunderstood and exiled. They are still misunderstood and discriminated against even today, in fact.
ひなみ沢の人間は皆怪しげな病気にかかっていて、そのせいでとんでもないことをするかもしれないなどという噂が日本中に知れ渡ったら大変だ。
If the whole country finds out about this and thinks that everyone in Hinamizawa who has contracted this weird disease can go mad at any moment, it'll turn to chaos.
厚生省もそのことを心配していて、この病気については厳重に伏せた上で治療を目指すらしい。
The Ministry of Health has taken that into consideration and is working on developing a cure while keeping the disease a secret.
勘違いするな。私たちを見せ物にすると言うんじゃないぞ。
Don't get me wrong, though. They aren't trying to put us on display or anything.
この病気を根絶させ、この村を病気から解放しようとしているのだ。
They are trying to eliminate this disease and free this village from it.
自給自足ができていた大昔ならともかく、現代では 村から一歩も出ずに生活など成り立たん。
It was a different story long ago when we supported ourselves, but nowadays, it's impossible not to leave the village.
村から出るだけで発病するかもしれない病気など、村人にとってどれほど危険なものかわかるだろ。
If a simple act of leaving the village can trigger the disease, you realize how dangerous it is for the villagers, right?
繰り返しになるが、昨今反ダム戦争で村全体が強い興奮状態にあって、ひなみ沢症候群にとって非常に良くない状態にあるらしい。
I'm repeating myself now, but in the recent dam protests, the whole village entered a strong excited state, which is very bad for the Hinamizawa syndrome.
もし村人がおかしくなって大変なことをしたらきっとマスコミがパシャパシャでいっぱいなのです。
If some villagers go crazy and do something horrible, it'd be all over for the media. Or all over the media.
そうだ。
Not all over for. That's right.
そうなってからでは手遅れなのだ。
If that happens, it'll be too late.
そんな
But
いきなり言われても
how can
信用できませんわ。
how can I believe this?
本当に相手は国の人？
Are you sure we're dealing with people from the government?
変な詐欺に騙されてるんじゃないですか？
Are you sure you aren't being tricked?
信用できんのも無理はない。
I don't blame you for not being able to believe it.
先方は研究所はいつでも見に来ていいと言っている。
They said we can come take a look at their facility anytime.
私はもう見せてもらっているが、あれは詐欺とかそういうレベルではない。
I've seen it before and I know that no mere fraud could have set something up like that.
ゴングラの大病院でもあんな大掛かりな設備はないぞ。
Even the big hospitals in Gogura don't have such large-scale equipment.
お前も私の話に納得できないなら、研究所で詳しい話を聞かせてもらうといい。
If you can't believe what I just told you, you should go to the research center yourself and ask questions.
私よりもっと詳しく説明してくれるだろ
They can explain it better than I can.
う。向こうは研究所の説明でも納得できないなら、東京の国立研究所で説明してもいいし、厚生省の本庁舎で直接説明してもいいと言っている。
They said if their explanation isn't good enough, they can explain it to you at the National Research Institute in Tokyo, or even at the Ministry of Health's main office.
でも信じる信じないは別にして、それが私たちにどういう関係があるんです？
Whether I believe it or not, how are we related to that?
古出家は代々お社様の血を受け継ぐと言われている。
It is said that the Furude family inherited the blood of Oyashiro-sama.
そして8代続いて女子が生まれれば、その8代目はお社様の生まれ変わりであるとも。
And it is also said that if a girl was born for 8 continuous generations, that 8th generation girl would be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Me?
そうですわ。
That's right.
私が7代目、
I'm the 7th.
リカが8代目。
Enrica is the 8th generation.
でもそれとその病気に何の関係があるというんです？
But what does that have to do with the disease?
このひなみ沢症候群という病気はある種の寄生虫によるらしい。
This Hinamizawa syndrome is caused by a type of parasite,
虫といってもものすごく小さい。
although they're very tiny.
人の目には決して見えんくらいに。
You can't even see them with the naked eye.
その虫たちには親分格がいるというのだ。
They say there's a sort of leader among these parasites.
まさかそれがフルデ家だとおっしゃるんですか？
Are you saying that's the Furude family?
その親分格の寄生虫は代々古田家の直系だけに受け継がれるらしい。
It appears that the leader of these parasites is passed down through the generations only by people with a direct bloodline to the Furude family.
つまり先代はお前。
In other words, in the previous generation it was you,
今は理科だ。
and now it's Rika. Me?
バカバカしい。
That's ridiculous.
そんな話やっぱりおかしいですわ。
That's absolutely ridiculous.
大体ですね、寄生虫なんてそんな気持ち悪いもの。
Why would it be something as disgusting as parasites in the first place?
だから落ち着きなさい。
Calm down.
私では説明が下手だ。
I'm not good at explaining things.
専門の人に説明を受けなさい。
Please have the experts explain it to you.
そして彼らが言うには、この病気の治療を研究するためには親分核の研究が不可欠だというのだ。
According to them, studying this parasite leader is necessary in order to research the disease.
嫌です。
No!
そんな怪しげな研究まっぴらごめんですし、リカだってそんな研究には関わらせません。
I won't have anything to do with such suspicious research, and Rika won't either.
だから落ち着きなさいというのに。
I'm telling you to calm down.
彼らの研究では、ひなみ沢症候群は村から離れると発病するのではなく、親分核から離れると発病するということらしいのだ。
They think that Hinamizawa syndrome acts out when separated from the parasite leader, not the village itself.
お前も小さかった頃、村人から神通力があると言われていたことがあるだろ。
When you were little, do you remember villagers telling you that you had psychic powers?
遠方に出かけ、片頭痛などにかかったお年寄りがお前に払ってもらうとたちまち頭痛が消えたという神通力。
You were able to cure elderly people who got migraines after taking a long trip.
それこそが親分核の証拠でもあるというのだ。
That's the proof that you are carrying the parasite leader.
フルデの血には発病者を救う力がある。
The Furude bloodline has the power to cure people with the disease.
それを研究するのは治療薬を見つけるためにもとても重要なことなのだそうだ。
To discover a cure, it's extremely important that we participate in the research.
僕を研究すると村のみんなが助かるのですか？
If they study me, will the villagers be saved?
先方はそう言っている。
That's what they say.
その病気は村の全員がかかっているのですか？
And all the villagers are infected?
僕も
Me?
みんなも
Everyone else?
さとこも
Satoko, too? Yes.
村に住む人間全員だけでなく、沖宮に住む親類なども全て含むそうだ。
Not only the people who live in the village, but the relatives in Okinomiya, too.
多分何千人という規模になるだろう。
We're talking thousands of people.
それだけの大変な病気だから、厚生省がわざわざたくさんの予算を投じて専門の研究所を作ってくれたのだ。
That's why the Ministry of Health spent so much money to build a specialized research center.
私は反対です。
I object!
リカをそんな怪しげな研究の生贄にするだなんて。
How can you let Rika be a sacrifice for something that's suspicious?
僕はいいのですよ。
I don't mind.
僕が生贄でさとこが助かるなら全然平気なのです。
If Satoko can be saved, I don't mind being a sacrifice. I really don't.
リカは黙っていなさい。
You be quiet, Rika.
とにかく絶対反対です。
I absolutely refuse.
あなたにそんな妙なことを吹き込んだ人たちには私が直接会ってはっきりとお断りをします。
I'll go talk to them and refuse them directly.
リカを変な実験で殺されてたまるものですか。
I won't let them kill Rika in some crazy experiment.
大体リカはフルデ家のたった一人の後継ぎなんですよ。
Besides, Rika is the one and only heir of the Furude family.
もしものことがあればフルデの血はここで絶えてしまうかもしれないじゃないですか。
What if something happens to her? The Furude family will die right there. Don't you see that?
あなたはもっとですね、フルデの家のことを考えていただかないと。
You need to think more about our family.
そんなだから村の人たちに日和見主義とかなんとか言われて。
You need to think. No, I already read that. That's why the villagers call you an opportunist. Here's the opportunist thing. That's why the villagers call you an opportunist.
大体おかしいじゃないですか。
After all, don't you think it's odd?
建設省は村をダムに沈める。
The Ministry of Construction is trying to submerge the village.
厚生省は村の病気を治す。
And the Ministry of Health is trying to cure a disease.
何が何だかさっぱりわからないです。
What in the world is going on?
厚生省はこの病気は環境の変化で大変発病しやすいと警告していて、建設庁に対しダム計画を中止するよう働きかけてくれているそうだ。
The Ministry of Health has warned that this disease could be triggered by a change in environment. So they're actually trying to have the Ministry of Construction stop the dam construction plan.
だからお前も研究所を見せてもらいなさい。
You really should go to the research center.
あれだけの大設備をダム湖に沈むかもしれない土地に建てるわけがない。
Why would they build such a huge facility in a location that could be submerged? Yawn noise. Rika let out a big yawn. It was long past bedtime for a little girl like her.
僕はもう寝ますです。
I'm going to bed now.
父さん、僕はいつでも協力するとその人たちに言っておいてくださいなのです。
Dad, please let them know I'm willing to participate, okay?
リカ
Rika,
そんなことお母さんに断りなく勝手に決めちゃいけません。
you can't make such a decision without consulting me.
リカ
Rika,
待ちなさいリカ
wait, Rika! Screw you, Mom. I learned it from you! Okay, so, ooh, that one was, like, felt like probably the longest one of these that we got. Also, I know I'm gonna sound like I'm just making excuses, but I gotta say, even if there is a legit reason for, like, the researcher needs to have hit his first snag, instructions for the kidnapping operation, even if that was pointed out at some point and I'm not making the link or something to it, like, like, all of these wrong picks that I had, most of them came from just not being able to see this one. Not picking this one, because I just assumed, like, I was like, oh, it's gonna be very clear, and I don't see. And so, yeah, bummer that I picked so many wrong ones while trying to find this. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would be interested to hear if this is this a selection a lot of people miss, or did I really miss something very obvious somewhere, somehow? Like, instructions for the kidnapping operation of the minister's grandson. I don't remember where that was pointed out, unless I'm just very badly missing it. You know what I mean? For the note, I'm writing the Furude family discusses Hinamazawa syndrome. Rika is down to clown. And then the dad is called opportunist. Good enough. So the Furude family discusses Inamazawa syndrome. Rika is down to clown. Dad is called opportunist. Quite scathing remarks by the mom there. Rika's father being marked as an opportunist is required. Rika's mother's suspicion is required. So that might be possible. But I think even prior to those, I would say probably this at a quarry in Yagochi is going to be very clearly one. The first one we should go to next. Sorry, I'm writing these down just like we did last time, so I know where I am right when we load in. In Yagochi. Spelling. No. High fever. A Shinto priest contacting the Irie institution. This might, I mean... Rika's mother's suspicion. I don't think that technically... I think we're gonna go, it's gonna be this. And then probably like around here, Depression of the Shinto Priest. Because then, is it talking about the Shinto Priest here as the dad? Does he go even against, obviously, the mom's wishes or whatever, and he reaches out to the Erie Institute or institution? Is how I feel that would go. Process direction-wise, and then we're probably going around, like, here after that. I'll write them down, but I'm not 100% confident on them, but it can't hurt. Let me write Depression of a Shinto Priest. And like I said, I think research is going well, probably, maybe. Okay, so yeah. Picks there at the end probably looked a bit brutal, but like I said, I would like to think that this one was vaguely bullshit. Not at the extreme, extreme possibility of me looking like I'm just looking for any excuse for not picking this one. I don't know. These two sentences at the bottom of this just don't feel. They don't feel. I don't want to say don't feel as obvious, but they don't feel as right as the other ones we've picked along the way. You know what I mean? That's what I would say. Alright, we're gonna call it there for the night. Thanks for bearing with me through the rough patch there. Thanks so much for watching. I truly hope you're enjoying as much as I am enjoying playing, even if it doesn't seem like that sometimes, you know? I would say don't confuse my sometimes lack of energy or distractedness by a million other things happening in my life at the moment for unenthusiasm of playing this and finishing this final chapter of Higurashi. Bear with me. I am dealing with things sometimes, and just like, especially like this past week, I would say specifically. Although I try to not let any outside stuff impact streams too much, but yeah, you know, just things. So yeah, we'll be back. I don't know how else to, I mean, I knew where I was going with it, but I don't know how to keep expanding on it. Yeah, maybe hopefully more energy throughout the next week here. But regardless of that, again, I hope you're enjoying all the same. Should be Higurashi streams Tuesday and Saturday next week. So normal Higurashi week. Other streams obviously sprinkled throughout the week as well. We are, if you're like, oh, I'm a big Higurashi watcher, make the pitch for anything else you're playing. Recently, we played through a one-off stream of, I think you would maybe enjoy potentially. It was goofy, it was silly, but the whole Rose and Camellia collection recently on the Switch, it was a one-off stream we did recently. So if you just look on the videos there, so it's like 2.5 hours, I think, see the whole series. So if you're into the one-offs there, you can find the playlist of one-off streams if you're just looking for a one-and-done type stream of one game. ever. Highly recommend those. Sometimes those are easier to get into, obviously, than full series, especially if you're doing anything else in your life or you're currently watching through a lot of these Higurashi streams or something. Also, we're currently getting very close to finishing Cyberpunk. Those have only a few more streams of, I think, of like side stuff, and then like the final couple or few of story missions left in that. We're also about to finish the last part of I think there's only a couple more hours of the final DLC of Control, so that'll be wrapping up probably in the next week. And then the Crash Bash streams. Those are fun if you like watching a man such as myself struggle through a bad Crash party game where my rose-tinted glasses of that game from my childhood is deteriorating every minigame I have to enter to get the 200% challenge done. Obviously, once those are the things that I'm hoping to wrap up, especially like Cyberpunk stuff, I hope to wrap up before the end of the month, because then the last month here, I almost said the last month of the month. Last month of the year is going to be a lot of, hopefully, cleanup on this Higurashi stuff. It's going to be year-end of videos, like my favorite top 10 games of the year. I'll do a record and vinyl collection update video for year 2, so we'll do that. Favorite clips, best clips of the stream type video, stuff like that. That'll all be worked on and go out hopefully towards like the end of December. And then we're probably not going to be starting any big massive games. You know, for the month of December, it'll be like a bunch of smaller stuff, or like I said, we've got like some Higurashi supplemental streams to do. So Higurashi side content, if you will, if you want to call it that. So yeah, this month is really doing those, cleaning up stuff we've already started. I don't think I have anything else to say. I think I'm just rambling at this point. Enjoy the rest of your night. Take it easy, stay safe, stay well, especially in these current times. And I will hopefully see you in another stream, be it Higurashi or anything else. Until then.